is about homecoming. It is a journey of strength, guile, and speed, out around first to the far island of second, where foes lurk in the rees and the green sea suddenly grows deeper. Then it turns sharply, skimming the shallows, making for a shore that will show a friendly face, a color, a familiar language, and at third, to proceed no longer by paths indirect, but straight to home.
Hello, friend, welcome me home again. Well, I've been away, but that's all over now. Say I can stay for October now. Stay a while and play.
In the first two games of the World Series, the San Francisco Giants have run into some tremendous pitching. Dave Stewart of the A's threw a shutout in Game 1. And Mike Moore in the Oakland bullpen did the job in Game 2. At the plate, punch has been provided by people like Dave Parker and Terry Steinbach. And the A's have won the first two games of the World Series and are halfway to their first world title since 1974. The Giant dugout full of long faces all weekend.
Hello, friend, welcome me home again. I know I've been away, but that's all over now. Isn't it nice to be home again? Over here, it's clear.
And tonight, the Giants home to host the A's in Game 3.
Hello, old friend.
And home for the Giants, one of the most spectacular vistas on this continent, any continent. Downtown San Francisco in the background, and we zoom into Candlestick Park in the southeastern corner of this city. For the first time in 27 years, a World Series game will be played in Candlestick Park. The Battle of the Bay continues. Game 3 of the 1989 World Series, the Oakland Athletics against the San Francisco Giants. I'm Al Michaels. Welcome to Game 3. It's been dominant Oakland pitching, of course, in the first two games, so Roger Craig has made some changes in the Giants lineup. Ken Oberkfell, the great pinch hitter, will start at third base. Matt Williams moves from third base to shortstop. Jose Uribe is on the bench. Pat Sheridan takes over for Candy Maldonado in right field. Now, the Giants, of course, are faced with a formidable task, having to win 4 of 5, in essence, to win the world title. It has become less uncommon, though, in recent years for teams to overcome a 2-love deficit. Most recently, it was done by the New York Mets in 1986 against the Boston Red Sox, and it was done the year before as well in 1985 by Kansas City against St. Louis. So the Giants tonight will be sending Don Robinson to the mound, and for Oakland, it will be Bob Welch, and there's no designated hitter in effect in the National League Park. Let me turn now to Tim McCarver. And, you know, Tim, we talked in Game 1, the final score was 5-0, but there was a key early play involving Terry Kennedy dropping a throw from Will Clark at the plate. We go back to Game 2, the score was 5-1, but there were two key plays early in that one as well.
Well, you don't often think of key plays in a 5-1 ball game, but let's go back to the top of the third inning. Will Clark, the batter. The Giants have not had the lead in these two games. A 3-2 count, a split finger fastball by Mike Moore, pounced on by Terry Steinbach, the Oakland catcher. But look at the tough throw that he had to complete the play with Brett Butler running between him and Clark. Flash forward to the bottom of the fourth inning. Dave Parker, barely by inches, just misses a home run. Candy Maldonado with the hesitation, allowing Jose Canseco to score, and he fails to get Dave Parker at second base. So the Oakland A's take.
Tell you what, we're having an early.
Our own owned and operated station out there, KGO, which you were just watching, was briefly knocked off the air. We're broadcasting, Al Michaels and the others who were broadcasting the World Series to you. That signal was knocked off the air, and we have heard unconfirmed reports that at Candlestick Park, where the third game of the World Series was to be played this evening, there have been some injuries. what we wanted to do was just get on the air and let you know what we do know, which at the moment is very scant information, and to assure you that as soon as we get further information, we will be back on the air with that. To repeat, there has been an earthquake in the San Francisco Bay Area, apparently with one aftershock. The quake itself lasted about 15 seconds, has caused at least one fire that we are aware of, and some damage. There may have been some injuries at Candlestick Park. The World Series game that you presumably tuned in to watch this evening has been knocked off the air. I can't even tell you at this point whether the game is going on at this moment, but we'll get more information to you as soon as we have it. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington, and hold on just 1 minute. We're looking at a live picture now, clearly from this is the east portion. What we are going to be seeing in a moment is the east portion of the Bay Bridge. Obviously, we're not seeing it, but the east portion of the Bay Bridge has collapsed. So apparently that earthquake out in San Francisco, a very serious one. As I said a moment ago, as soon as we have more hard information, we will gather it together and come back on and let you know what's going on. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington.
Report from ABC News.
I'm Ted Koppel. There has been a rather strong earthquake in Northern California, so strong, in fact, that it has, among other things, knocked out all the power or much of the power at Candlestick Park, where the third game of the World Series was being played. But in the overall scheme of things, that may be the very least of things that has happened today. Let me show you a piece of video that just came in a few minutes ago. This is, if you look carefully there, you will see that the upper span, that's the Bay Bridge that connects Oakland and San Francisco, the upper span of that bridge has collapsed there, at least the segment has collapsed. As that video moves in a little bit closer, you'll see there is at least one vehicle down there that apparently slid off the edge of the segment on the left and is now trapped in the crevice there of that segment that is down at an angle. There are many vehicles still on that lower span of the Bay Bridge. You can see people walking around there. They don't seem to be in any immediate danger, but the tremors that shook much of San Francisco, apparently the quake lasted for about 10 to 15 seconds, and then there was an afterquake. I have on the line with me two of my colleagues, Bruce Hall and Mark Nelson. Mark Nelson is out at Candlestick Park. They're on by phone. This is a live shot from our affiliate, our owned and operated station in San Francisco, KGO, and you can see that there are at least two major fires that seem to be in progress there. But I'll tell you what, let me go instead now to Bruce Hall, who is at our bureau in San Francisco. And Bruce, maybe you can just give me a sense of what happened, when it happened, and how you became aware of the fact that there was an earthquake in progress.
All right, I was getting ready to record the World Series, and the first thing, there were some tremors, which didn't seem unusually strong. It just seemed like a regular kind of earthquake. Then the signal went off the air, and then the whole building shook extremely violently. It was going back and forth and up and down, and this, I would think, for about 5 or 6 seconds. I might have to drop to you anytime, Ted. And I went to a doorway and stayed there. We have had some minor damage around the building. There are cracks in the plaster. We lost a plate glass window out of the bureau on the other side of the building, and there were bricks kicked up, about 6 or 8 of them, from right in front of the entrance here at KGO.
Let me just interrupt you for a moment. You were looking, while Bruce Hall was talking, our audience was looking, Bruce, at some live video that was apparently being shot from a helicopter, and it looked as though one of the major highways there was rather severely buckled. We are getting preliminary information from Candlestick Park, but perhaps it's best to go to my colleague, Mark Nelson, who is out at Candlestick. What's happening at the moment, Mark?
Well, Ted, people are milling around inside the stadium. The field is empty. None of the players are out. There are 9 towers that light the stadium. From my vantage point, I only see one row on one of the towers that appears to have any power. Outside, where all the trailers, the television trucks are, engineers are frantically trying to hook up power, auxiliary power. I can tell you that in the trailer I'm sitting in now, there is none. I'm on one of 3 working phones. When the tremor hit, and it was a pretty wild, violent tremor, it lasted for maybe 10 to 15 seconds. People started screaming and running. there was a great deal of confusion. That's about all I can tell you right now.
All right, Mark, I'll tell you what, let's move on, and we are sort of moving in and out with different colleagues of ours as we become aware of the fact that we're able to communicate with them either by phone. I am told that we can get, I hope, both sound and picture from Rick Lozano of KABC Sports. Rick, can you hear me?
I sure can, Ted.
And you are there with San Francisco police officer?
Yes, we have Officer Dwayne Collins with us, and first I should tell you that we just established audio contact with you very recently, so I haven't been able to hear all that you've said so far, Ted. I can tell you that part of the San Francisco Bay Bridge, the Bay Bridge has collapsed in a certain section. Unconfirmed reports of injury at this time. Here at Candlestick Park, as soon as the tremor struck, people started heading for the exits. It was a wild scene here for a short time. Personally, I was in a hallway, an enclosed hallway, and it was quite a scene, and there's something I've never experienced before. With me, Officer Dwayne Collins of the San Francisco Police Department. Officer, what can you tell us at this time from an official standpoint?
Well, nothing at an official standpoint. Everything is still very sketchy. They're still trying to find out what happened. We do know that there was a collapse on the Bay Bridge, and we do have unconfirmed reports that some buildings have collapsed on the south side of Market Street.
What about here at Candlestick Park? Any reports of injuries or structural damage to the stadium?
No reports of injuries at this point. There's a few shaken up people, obviously. And as far as visible injury, visible damage to the stadium, we haven't found any.
Living in San Francisco in the Bay Area, you're accustomed to earth tremors. How strong would you estimate this one to have been?
This was a pretty good shaker. It was well over 5, probably 6.
Ted, I can tell you, living in Southern California and Los Angeles, that this one measured at least as strong as the Whittier quake of a couple of years ago. The epicenter has not yet been pinpointed, although it did not take very long for the main thrust of the jolt to hit here. So I would imagine that the epicenter was quite nearby. That's going to do it for now, Ted. We'll throw it back to you in New York.
Rick, thanks very much. You're both pretty good at guesstimating your Richter scale, because we now have some preliminary indications that the Richter reading was actually of 6.5. So this was a fairly hefty, indeed a very hefty earthquake. And I am told that we have some street scenes from San Francisco. If we have those ready, let's take a look at them right now. We are looking at these for the first time as you see them.
Burglar alarms were set off. The power lines were swaying. As I said, power was cut off to this area. So was phone service. We're told now that some phone service has been restored here. You can see people were screaming. You could definitely feel the quake. I was also just told by a police officer that there are some cracks in the upper rim of Candlestick. Half-inch cracks is what he is saying in the upper rim of Candlestick. And they have also closed the overpass now on Jamestown into Candlestick.
All right, I must tell you that among the things that is happening here is that we are getting snatches of information from different parts of town, and it's like the old legend of the blind man touching the elephant. Depending on which part of the animal they are touching, they are describing different scenes. You can see, on the one hand, people there in the street scenes almost in a festive mood, but I must tell you, this was a serious earthquake. There has been serious damage. If you've been with us for the past few minutes, you will have seen that the upper span of the Bay Bridge, at least a significant segment of it, collapsed. There are reports of buildings having collapsed in San Francisco. We have seen, and as I say, if you've been with us, you have seen some rather significant fires that apparently have been caused by the earthquake. As for injuries or possibly even fatalities, I mentioned to you earlier that there were some initial reports of some injuries at Candlestick Park, and you probably just heard the voice of a KGO reporter who was talking about some cracks in the superstructure at Candlestick Park. I must tell you, however, that I have a piece of wire copy here which is saying that a Giant spokesman said police were advising fans to remain at Candlestick Park precisely because the park is considered to be structurally sound. So just to summarize for you, and we are trying to make contact with my ABC Sports colleague Al Michaels, who was obviously in the park to report on the third game of the World Series, but who is now there to report on a rather significant news story. Let me just bring you up to speed again. Just as the game was about to begin, there was an earthquake that apparently lasted about 15 seconds and was felt as far away as 90 miles. There is a piece of videotape that was recorded, I guess about a half hour ago or so, and you can see that there is a segment of the upper span of the Bay Bridge. That is the bridge that connects Oakland, California with San Francisco. There is a segment of that bridge that has collapsed. We have reports of a number of buildings that have collapsed in and around the San Francisco area. And quite frankly, what we are doing at the moment is just trying to gather that information so that we can put it into some kind of coherent form for you. I should point out that until we do that, all I can give you is sort of the same summary that I've been giving you until now. I don't see any particular point in babbling on here and just telling you what's going on until we get some more information. So let's close it up now. A 6.5 reading on the Richter scale. You can see some video there. I gather that's live video of Candlestick Park.
And we are feeling a shock right now, and that shaking in your picture is being amplified by the tremor that has just gone through the top of the stadium, and we are live. They're taking the bases off. 8:41 Eastern, 5:41, and we just felt it out here. We're at ground level. And now 6.5 Richter is what ABC is reporting this shock to be. And it is quite obvious now, that this is not it never has been a baseball story. It is much larger than the events going on at Candlestick.
All right. What you saw is self-explanatory. The game has clearly been delayed, if not called off for the evening. We'll tell you that clearly, given the context of everything else that's happening here tonight, is one of the lesser aspects of the story. But you can see the crack in the sidewalk there. Again, a rather massive earthquake, 6.5 on the Richter scale. Fires in San Francisco, a segment of the Bay Bridge down. The game delayed, deferred. Possibly even canceled, and we will give you more information as soon as it becomes available to us and we can put it into some sort of coherent form. I'm Ted Koppel in Washington. We'll be back a little bit later.
Program scheduled to bring you a special report from ABC News.
Good evening, I'm Ted Koppel. There has been, as you may know by now, a rather severe earthquake measuring 6.5 on the Richter scale in San Francisco. You are looking at a live picture of a major fire in the Bay Area. I believe in just a moment, if the camera keeps on pulling back, you may be able to see the Golden Gate Bridge in the background. Those fires, and there are several of them that are currently blazing in the San Francisco Bay Area, are believed to have been caused by ruptured gas mains. But what has been happening, to bring you up to speed, is that the earthquake began at 8:04, that's Pacific Daylight Time, rather 5:04 Pacific Daylight Time, 8:04 Eastern Daylight Time. The electricity at Candlestick Park, where the third game of the World Series was just about to get underway, was knocked out. Within the past few minutes, the acting commissioner of baseball, Fay Vincent, has just announced that tonight's game has been suspended. They are at the moment trying to evacuate Candlestick Park, which is further south in the Bay Area. You are right now looking at San Quentin, I believe. No, yes, San Quentin. No, that is not San Quentin, forgive me, but I should point out to you that that was Treasure Island we were just looking at, that the Bay Bridge, which connects Oakland and San Francisco, has lost a 50-foot span. There is at least one vehicle that is trapped in that area. You're looking at video of that right now, and I think if the camera moves in a little bit closer, you will see the one vehicle that is trapped. There is at least one wire service report of some people who were seen floating in the water below. I have not seen that on any video, have not heard it confirmed anywhere, but there have been several segments of highway that have been buckled. My ABC Sports colleague Al Michaels, I believe, can you hear me? Al, are you still at Candlestick Park?
Nothing, okay. What is he doing? He's doing a straight lead.
Al, can you hear me? Al Michaels?
This is Al Michaels. I'm in our production truck. You're looking at a fire, obviously, in the city of San Francisco. Just to relate what it felt like at Candlestick Park, and I have lived in California for the better part of 20 years. Fortunately, there was no jolt. There was no question once it started that I knew it was an earthquake, and I think most people in this area knew immediately it was an earthquake, and then you wait for either a jolt or for it to stop. It was a steady sort of shake and roll, and it was an extremely uneasy moment because we just happened to be on camera doing our pregame show, and the sense I got for a split second was that we were going backwards. And in fact, where we would sit in the mezzanine, an overhanging booth, we were susceptible to being a part of the collapse of the upper deck, in addition to falling down below or having it collapse down below. You are looking now at a shot of the cantilever section of the Bay Bridge. That is not the main section, but that apparently is where, from what I can tell right now, the major damage has been done. It is the primary link, of course, between the cities of San Francisco and Oakland, and it's graphically illustrated right there. Fortunately, and there, of course, is a car in between the collapsed sections. We have, of course, from our vantage point here and from what we know, I'm sure you have far more information about that, Ted, but all I can say is that very, very fortunately for some 60,000 people at Candlestick Park, the epicenter was not that close to the ballpark, but certainly as unnerving an experience as I can recall by far in 20 years of living in California. We understand now, as you look at a fire in San Francisco that appears to me to be somewhere in the neighborhood of the Marina District. We have Gary Thorne, who is still in the ballpark with the Commissioner of Baseball, Fay Vincent. Gary, can you hear me?
Well, thank you very much. Commissioners obviously have been very busy here since this has occurred. Commissioner, tell us exactly what the situation is as far as the games are concerned.
Well, we'll wait to see tomorrow. We hope to play the third game here, but we obviously have to check the stadium and be sure there's no damage that would put anybody at risk.
What was the initial information that you have from the people here at the stadium as to whether or not there might be any structural damage?
Well, there are some cracks. I don't think anybody's in a position to evaluate them. We'll get that done tomorrow and try to make a judgment early in the day whether we can play tomorrow night.
Tell us about the process you went through here once yourself. What was your reaction to it? Because you, like many of us, have not been through one before.
Well, I didn't know enough to be frightened. I was standing and started to shake, and at first I thought it was a jet. And my wife said, "Oh, it's an earthquake," and I realized then that we were having an earthquake.
What will you do now tonight? Will there be more meetings tonight with anyone in particular?
You know, I have no idea, Gary. I'm waiting here to see the stadium evacuate. I think people have handled this very nicely, the police and the people in the stadium have done a superb job. I'm very pleased. We need to get everybody out of here before it gets dark, which was the governing factor in the decision to call the game.
You lost all the power in here, so without any electricity, obviously, you weren't going anywhere.
We couldn't play, but even more importantly, we couldn't take a chance on having people here when it got dark. The governing factor was to get people to leave while there was enough light.
And seemingly things have been very orderly down here. There's been no problem. There was one fan who suffered some sort of an attack and was taken down to the bench. One of the interesting things, Commissioner, was the players and their wives leaving as the wives came down and children onto the field to go with their husbands.
Well, yes. I think a lot of people felt they were better off at the pitcher's mound. But it was a very nice performance by everybody involved, and I commend all those who participated, including the fans. I think the fans of baseball were terrific.
Will the game go on tomorrow if there are not structural damages here that would prevent people from coming in?
I would think so, yes. We need to talk to the police and be sure we know enough about the entire community. We don't know anything now, and we'll make that judgment in the morning.
If the ballpark was structurally damaged so that you could not put people back in here, would you consider playing elsewhere, say Oakland?
Well, we'll see about that tomorrow. I don't know what our options are, but we'll look at them all in the morning.
Will the final decision on that be yours?
Yes, it will.
Okay. That's the Commissioner, Fay Vincent, joining us. Thank you very much for doing that. And obviously a large crowd still gathered on the field. Al?
And Gary, and we're back here in the production truck, and it's funny. I think everybody at first oohed and awed and didn't quite know what had happened, and you get the sense that people are almost more nervous now as the reality of what has taken place begins to sink in. At first, you knew you were a part of something historic, sitting through an earthquake in a ballpark preparatory to a World Series game, and now, of course, just in walking out in the last few minutes, everybody is exhaling, probably 3 times as hard as they normally would. And right now we have Gary Thorne back out in front of the Giants dugout right now, and let's check in again with him.
Back up, or you're gonna
Down here on the field at this time, the commissioner's biggest concern was to get people out of the stands because of, obviously, if there are structural damages here, it would pose a danger to the fans, and this ballpark being packed, they wanted them out. So the initial decision was, we've lost power. We've got to get people out of here before we can assess what kind of structural damages. We know there are at least some minor cracks that occurred. It was very scary down on the field when it happened. If you look up here at Candlestick Park, there's a cement overhang that goes all the way around the stadium. When the earthquake occurred, those cement overhangs were literally bouncing up and down, and there are people underneath those who are seated in that upper level. So that's the problem that we had. I have not even had a chance to meet the security officer, so let me get your name first.
Yeah, I'm Commander Nelson, in charge of the police operation here at Candlestick.
First of all, let me say congratulations on the job you did here, because things were handled in a very smooth fashion, getting people out. What is the status, number one, right now, of clearing the yard?
Right now we have our traffic units and our exterior units set up in a post-game configuration. Everything is going very smoothly as far as getting the stadium evacuated. We've made announcements that the game has been postponed due to a partial power failure. Once we get an assessment of the entire stadium, then we'll make a determination whether or not the game will be played tomorrow or at some later date, whether it's going to be played at Candlestick. In the meantime, we were asking people just to hold on to their tickets, as the rain checks will be honored, and as people leave, we're asking them to turn to specific radio stations.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
KCR 68, which is the Giants flagship station, which will have traffic updates.
A partial
KCO 81 and KCBS 74.
Just a moment.
Today's game has been postponed. Once again, today's game has been postponed. Tickets for today's game may be turned in for tomorrow's game. You treat your tickets just like a rain check. Use the rain check portion of today's ticket for tomorrow's game. We asked at this time.
One final question we'd ask is, our reports are there are some minor structural problems. Do you have any reports on that?
So far, I have heard that there are some minor cracks in the stadium and around the city. We've had several minor problems which are being addressed at this time. We have a command post set up. Being in San Francisco, we have a regular contingency plan that has gone into effect for the city. We have a command post set up citywide. We have a command post set up here in the stadium, and everything is being run at this time just very smoothly. Everyone has responded very well, very calmly. The evacuation is going very well.
Thank you very much. Al, back to you.
Yes, thank you, Gary. And frankly, everybody just kind of sat there. They were calm, and there was no panic in the stands, but of course nobody was given any instruction because we had lost power. Now you're looking at part of the freeway section, as you know, and again, I don't have communication with New York, and I'm sure Ted probably has more information than I do, but a portion of the Bay Bridge, the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge, that is the main span. Then you have Yerba Buena Island and Treasure Island coming into the picture. Then there is the cantilevered portion, and this is a double-decker bridge, and what happens is the upper level goes from Oakland or from the East Bay into San Francisco, and the lower level carries one-way traffic from San Francisco across the bay and into Oakland. And a portion, as you can see, of the upper level has collapsed onto the lower level of the Bay Bridge. The cantilever portion, that would be about, I would estimate, a mile to a mile and a half from the shoreline of the East Bay. So obviously a major disaster, and as I mentioned before and can only reiterate, very, very fortunately at Candlestick Park, everybody appears to be safe, everybody appeared to be okay, and there is no visible damage in the ballpark. Now you're looking back into San Francisco. That's, I believe, Highway 280, a freeway that parallels the Bayshore Freeway, which is Highway 101, one of the two primary north-south links from the peninsula and from the ballpark into the city of San Francisco. That it would be normally the less heavily traveled. Most of the traffic would be on Highway 101, which would be west of that. A look at where this earthquake was centered in San Benito, and you can see San Francisco sitting at the head of the peninsula. Oakland would be just to the right of San Francisco across the bay. And again, we here in the truck do not have any further information in terms of magnitude and the exact epicenter. There are some fires, obviously, in the city of San Francisco. Again, as we take a look at that, that appears to be what would be the Marina District, not far from Fisherman's Wharf. At 5:04 Pacific time, we understand was when the earthquake occurred. And we at that point, of course, were coming on the air getting ready to begin our telecast of the third game of the World Series. And again, at Candlestick Park, there was no panic. Californians sort of react with wryness, I suppose, and irony, and you kind of give each other a knowing shrug. Hey, we know what's happened. And then, as I say, the reality has really begun to sunk in. Meanwhile, Joe Morgan was down on the field. We were preparing to lead to a Joe Morgan interview. Next to Joe was Willie Mays. And Tim McCarver and I and Jim Palmer were in the booth, and there it was at that particular point. And as we say, or as we said before in the booth, here was us. Here we were at that particular point. My grammar is not particularly terrific at this point, but I think you'll all understand.
Well, I was watching thinking that they were just replaying a tape of what happened, but clearly what has been happening all evening long has just happened again. You heard Al Michaels. There have been electrical breakups all evening long. The key part of the story, as by now I'm sure you will have gathered, is that there's been a rather major earthquake in San Francisco, ranging somewhere between 6.5 and 7 on the Richter scale. You see one of the fires that we assume has been caused by the tremors. One of my colleagues here, our political director, Hal Bruno, who is also a volunteer fireman, tells me that what frequently happens is that these fires are a consequence of ruptured gas lines. So there you see a fire blazing with what I believe is the Golden Gate Bridge directly behind, but it is the other bridge, the Bay Bridge, that Al Michael was talking about just a moment ago, where a 30 to 50 foot span of the upper level has collapsed onto the lower level. And of course, among the other things that will have happened this evening, as all the fans from Oakland who came over to the San Francisco side to see the third game of the World Series, which parenthetically has of course been canceled now by the Commissioner of Baseball, Fay Vincent, all those people somehow have to get back to Oakland. They won't be going back over the Bay Bridge. As you have seen over the course of the past few minutes, and there you see a span of highway that has also collapsed. No indication, parenthetically, of whether there have been any injuries or fatalities. You can tell an earthquake is such a random thing. You see people there standing around in an almost joking fashion, I guess relief as much as anything else. But only a few miles, and in some instances even a few hundred yards away, there may be people who have been badly injured by that same quake. And what we're looking at there is, I believe, a span, that segment that I was telling you about, the cantilevered segment of the Bay Bridge that Al Michaels was talking about a few moments ago. It collapsed, and because it collapsed, the upper level collapsed onto the lower level. Clearly, that bridge can no longer be used to connect San Francisco with Oakland. So the folks who went to see the game in San Francisco today won't be able to go back via the bridge, and there have been other reports, unconfirmed as yet, that BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, that is the partially underground subway segment, that there has been at least one train that has been stalled in one of those tunnels. So I suspect they may be very, very cautious now in terms of allowing more passengers in there. Now, a couple of my colleagues, Bruce Hall and Mark Nelson, are standing by phone. Mark, you're still out, I gather, at the ballpark. Anything new that you can tell us from out there?
Ted, can you hear me, Ted?
We hear you rather faintly, and if we don't hear you any more clearly than that, go ahead, Mark Nelson. Can you hear me? Mark Nelson?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, there's power failures again in various parts of the park area that I'm near. People are filing out. It appears to be very orderly. There are buses around. People are loading buses, and they're leaving the park area. It appears to me most of the television trailers and foreign broadcast trailers that are around here have all lost power as well. From what I can see, there appears to be no lights on the towers inside the stadium. That's about all I can tell you right now, Ted.
Mark, since you are living in San Francisco, maybe you can fill in what I was trying to explain to our viewers a moment ago, and that is, how do the people who are now on the San Francisco side of the bay, how do they get over to the Oakland side, since clearly they cannot take the Bay Bridge?
Well, Ted, I don't live in San Francisco. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm interested to find that out myself.
All right. Well, how about Bruce Hall? Bruce, you're standing by also on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yes. The normal alternate route would probably be the San Mateo Bridge, which is the bridge just south of the Bay Bridge, but that has been closed for inspection, according to KGO. They are inspecting it for damage. There's not known damage as of a few minutes ago. But that bridge has been closed, which leaves the Dunbarton Bridge, which is a very small bridge, several miles farther south. It takes off from Palo Alto. And otherwise, you'd have to drive either the Golden Gate Bridge and the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge, or through San Jose and around and up the other shore. But part of 880, which is the road that would come up from San Jose to Oakland, has collapsed. I think it's nearer the Bay Bridge, but I'm not sure. I think that may have been the part of the freeway that you showed earlier that had collapsed.
Bruce, I'll tell you what, maybe you could just fill us in a little bit on what you know in terms of injuries, possibly even fatalities and damage. We have seen some aerial video of what looked to be some rather serious fires. Do you have any idea of how widespread they are and of whether there have been any casualties?
No, I'm sorry, I don't.
All right. We're going to go back now to Al Michaels, who is still standing by at Candlestick Park. Al, I assume that you're looking at the same video that I'm seeing right now, which is a terrible fire somewhere in San Francisco. Do you know the area well enough to be able to tell us where that is?
Ted, I'm not certain that I'm seeing exactly what you're seeing, but I do see a fire. I know there is a fire in what would be the Marina District, or very close to it. It's not far from Fisherman's Wharf. It would be in the northern section of the city. It appeared to me maybe a half a mile in from San Francisco Bay, and that appears to be the most serious of the fires that I'm able to see at this particular point.
All right, before you start to brief us all on what is happening there right now, let me just point out that President Bush was attending a dinner for Republican governors in Washington this evening. When he learned about the earthquake in California, the president told reporters that about an hour from now, the Secretary of Transportation, Skinner, will go to California to make a first-hand inspection of the damage. The president also said that officials of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, are being called to the White House tonight to start mapping out assistance plans. Just a few miles to the south of you there, Al, at San Francisco Airport, you should know the airport has been closed. And I don't know whether that's just while they are waiting to see if there are any more aftershocks, or whether they need to conduct an inspection there. But fill us in on the scene now at Candlestick, would you?
Well, right now everybody appears to be safe, and everybody evacuated. It was a most curious sort of reaction. I don't know if we had communication before, Ted. I could not hear you, but you know, I have lived in the state for 20 years and in this area for 12, so those of us who have experience living through these things knew exactly what it was. When it stops, there's a tremendous sense of relief. There's a wryness and irony and all of that, and you sort of shrug your shoulders and you say, well, you know, we've been through this. But frankly, because of the magnitude of this and then the thought process beginning to settle in about 20 minutes later of what might have been, and I can't tell you how fortunate we were, because Candlestick Park was built in 1958. I know there have been some upgraded standards in regard to safety for the prevention of earthquakes through the years, but it's a double-decker park with a mezzanine. I had mentioned before, our broadcast position is in that mezzanine. I had the sense just for a second or two that we were going backwards and out, and that we were going to go down into the lower deck and the upper deck would collapse. And Ted, I can't tell you that it's been a terrible tragedy, obviously, and I don't know what the damage is, and obviously the Bay Bridge, a portion of that has collapsed, and we don't know the casualties, but we were very, very lucky at Candlestick Park that the epicenter was not that close to this ballpark, which is 31 years old.
Actually, Al, the epicenter, I've just been handed a piece of wire copy. The epicenter was 10 miles north of Santa Cruz, about 50 miles south of San Francisco. So presumably, as we go on into the evening, we'll be getting reports of what's been happening closer to the epicenter. But obviously, right now, the focus of attention has been and continues to be the immediate Bay Area, San Francisco, and the area right around Candlestick Park. We heard Commissioner of Baseball Fay Vincent telling Gary Thorne before that the game obviously was canceled for tonight, and he'll be making a decision later on as to whether or not the third game of the World Series can be played there at Candlestick Park. I don't expect you to crystal ball it, Al, but just on the basis of what we have seen here this evening, can you imagine that they can conduct those kinds of inspections in the next 24 hours and have everybody back there in that park tomorrow night?
Well, again, drawing on the fact that I've lived here all of these years, yes, they've been able to do those things. I think, you've got other problems here. You've got the psyche of this entire area incredibly affected by this. You're going to have huge traffic jams all over the Bay Area. I mean, it's obvious that the extent of the damage to the collapsed section of the Bay Bridge is sufficient that that bridge is going to be closed for who knows how long. I understand, I heard an earlier report, Ted, when they were linking me with you, that the San Mateo Bridge is also being closed at least for inspection. And so what you would have to do to get from San Francisco to Oakland would be to either drive down to the Dumbarton Bridge, which connects Menlo Park and Fremont, a very small bridge, or drive all the way to San Jose and come back up, or proceed to the far North Bay and come back down over the Golden Gate Bridge. So, obviously, this is one of the things that people are thinking about in this area, the continuation of this World Series, when it will take place. But I think uppermost in most people's minds in this region right now are things of another nature.
No, you're exactly right. And I should point out that this earthquake, and perhaps we should just tell those people who are tuning in now for the first time and who perhaps thought they were going to catch this game in the third or fourth innings, the third game of the World Series has been canceled. What you are looking at right now is the reason why. There has been an earthquake in San Francisco. You're looking at a piece of videotape now of some cars that were trapped when the upper section of the Bay Bridge collapsed onto the lower section of the Bay Bridge. That is the bridge that connects Oakland with San Francisco. The quake... yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me right now? Because just to point something out in case it has not been, this bridge is a double-decker bridge. It is one way from east to west in the direction we are looking right now. In other words, that car was heading from Oakland into San Francisco. And then there is the section underneath, which is one way going from San Francisco to Oakland. So I don't have to tell you that in the best of times, that is an incredibly heavily traveled bridge, not just during rush hour, but at several points during the day. And you can see in that shot, if you are seeing the same thing I am, Ted, the panoramic shot of San Francisco, that fire appears to be, as I say, in the Pacific Heights or Marina District. You saw the Golden Gate Bridge, and we've not heard any reports in regard to structural damage there, which links Marin County and San Francisco. Panning now, Fisherman's Wharf would be at the shoreline there. There's downtown San Francisco. There is the main portion of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. That is not the portion at which the collapse has taken place. Yerba Buena Island and Treasure Island is in the middle, and then there is that cantilevered portion, and that is where the collapse of the Bay Bridge has taken place, Ted.
Now, the fires, we just saw one of the fires over there on the San Francisco side. I should point out that fires have also been reported in Berkeley and in Oakland. So this is clearly an earthquake that has made its effects felt for many, many miles all around. As I mentioned a few moments ago to you, Al, the epicenter is about 50 miles south of San Francisco, but clearly the attention of the world this evening has been focused on San Francisco, and as we get more information later on. Our colleague Peter Jennings is sitting up in New York with our San Francisco Bureau Chief Ken Kashiwahara. Maybe the two of them can fill us in a little bit. And again, one of the things, the subway system, Peter, maybe you could ask Ken, that BART, the Bay Area Rapid Transit, how is that going to be affected by this?
Police said that cracks were visible in the 31-year-old structure.
Tragic day. Baseball is secondary. I mean, we got to feel sorry for some of the people that were involved on the Bay Bridge, and right now the city is kind of in uproar.
At the time of the quake, players from both the San Francisco Giants and Oakland A's rushed from their dugouts looking for family members. Some of the 60,000 fans in the sold-out Candlestick Ballpark shuddered under the rolling motion caused by the tremor.
We got these three pieces in a pile up there on the upper deck.
Just the wave, and it's just a real big one. It just stayed. It felt like the stadium was just shaking. far as I know, there was in the upper section, some of the steps ripped apart.
Wild scene in San Francisco tonight. It happened just after 5 o'clock local time. I was standing next to our satellite truck here in the parking lot, which was bouncing back and forth like a piece of plastic. As you can see, a lot of fans still here stunned and amazed by what happened. Some of the fans here actually came out of the stadium carrying chunks of cement. How did this thing end up in your hands?
Well, basically, up in section 53, the upper deck, the shaking was pretty bad, and the steps, this is a piece of the steps going up right next to one of the tunnels that go underneath to get out. And this is not falling on anybody's head. We picked it up off the ground.
How frightening was it up there?
It was a lot worse than the Silmar quake a ways back. I'm from Southern California.
Right.
And
worst one you've experienced?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Guys, thanks. You can put that cement block down now. Struggling with it. To my left, Ken Oberkfell of the Giants and his wife, Jamie. Was it an emotional moment after the quake when you were reunited with your wife?
Oh, yeah. It was, you know, when it happened, I was sitting in a dugout, and I just made a mad dash to the field and looked up in the wife's section to see where most of the family would be, and I saw Jamie and, you know, motioned her, get on down here, and she made it down, and it was, you know, great to see everybody happy. Yeah.
A moment like this, excuse me, does it kind of put everything in perspective a little bit?
Yes, it does. You don't place as much emphasis on winning a World Series or winning a game as what you do at that particular moment in time, and just wondering if everybody's safe.
Kent, the latest on Game 3, what have you heard?
I haven't heard nothing. The only thing I have heard is that they said they're going to have some engineers in to check the stadium, see if it's structurally sound. Besides that, we haven't heard a thing.
The word I hear is maybe we'll know by tomorrow, but again, structural engineers checking out the stadium. We may or may not have Game 3 here in San Francisco tomorrow. That's the story from
about the game, and all of a sudden I heard all this wild screaming going on in the background, and Candlestick Park literally became a field of screams during an historical and hysterical evening at the World Series in San Francisco. Some 15 minutes before Game 3 was to begin, an earthquake measuring up to 7.0 on the Richter scale rocked Candlestick Park, as we've been reporting all night long. Damage was extensive and significant throughout most of Northern California. Obviously, the future of the World Series will not be decided until tomorrow morning at the earliest. The quake hit 5 minutes after ABC went on the air. Players grabbed their families right afterwards, most of them visibly shaken by what happened. There were reports a portion of the upper deck on the first base side separated from the stadium. Chunks of concrete fell among the crowd, were picked up and taken home as souvenirs, and nobody seemed to immediately comprehend the scope of the disaster.
We hope to play the third game here, but we obviously have to check the stadium and be sure there's no damage that would put anybody at risk.
What was the initial information that you have from the people here at the stadium as to whether or not there might be any structural damage?
Well, there are some cracks. I don't think anybody's in a position to evaluate them. We'll get that done tomorrow and try to make a judgment early in the day whether we can play tomorrow night.
We knew it was an earthquake. We just didn't know how bad it was. And, you know, the lights went out, everything started shaking, everybody just scrambled to get outside.
I knew when it was coming. This is my 5th earthquake, you know, being a part of it, so I knew it was coming. I didn't know it was going to be that strong.
Is it the strongest one you felt?
The strongest one I've ever been involved with.
Well, now we have reports there may not be any power in the Bay Area for 72 hours, so obviously there's not going to be any baseball out there for quite some time. Well, there were other sports stories unfolding around the country, although much less significant.
Just hit the Bay Area today.
A lot of the stairs that they put in later cracked right down the middle. I've never been in an earthquake before. This is the first time, and it's like the strangest feeling ever. I know I was out there in the left field area just walking around, and for 5 seconds I just lost all touch with really my balance. I didn't know where I was. No, I didn't look up. All of a sudden it hit, and I was, whoa, where am I? And I still feel real sick. So.
Worst one, eh?
It's the only one, so it's got to be the worst one. I've never experienced that before. Strange feeling.
Esther, where were you?
Coming up the ramp into the stadium.
Like? That's probably the
Terrible.
worst.
This is the 3rd one I've been in, and the first 2 he wasn't in town. I was all by myself, and then I would call him crying. I'd tell him, "You're such a crybaby," and I look at him, right? Yeah, it's pretty bad. Pretty bad. It's scary.
I don't know how you're going to get home to Oakland.
I don't know.
San Mateo.
My car has wings, so I can fly over there.
I was on the field, so I didn't feel a whole lot of it. I just saw, I could feel it a little bit. Once I saw the lights go out, first of all, and then I heard the crowd, and I kind of looked around. I saw the skyboxes up there, and the window was really shaking, and then about the same time, I felt my feet underneath my feet, just like a wave. it was one of those things that we felt the one a couple years ago down in L.A. when we were down there. So, you know, I feel fortunate that I wasn't inside, because the one in L.A. really shook me up. I mean, it did. So, you know, now it's just a matter of trying to get the family together. And
yeah, where's the family?
Well, my mom and dad and my wife are here. The kids are at a sitter, so we're trying to get through on the phone, but evidently all the phone lines are out, and even the car phones are hard to get through on. So how we're getting out of here now, I don't know.
Let's go.
In San Francisco, California, the 1989 World Series, the Oakland Athletics and the San Francisco Giants, with the A's leading in the World Series 2-0. Hi again, everyone. I'm Al Michaels. At this very moment 10 days ago, we began our telecast with an aerial view of San Francisco, always a spectacular sight, and particularly so on that day because the cloudless sky of October 17th was ice blue, and the reflections of the late day sun sparkled like 1,000 jewels. That picture was very much a mirror of the feel and the mood that had enveloped the Bay Area, and indeed most of Northern California. Their baseball teams, the Giants and the Athletics, had won pennants, and the people of this region were still basking in the afterglow of each team's success. And this great American sporting classic, the World Series, was for the time being exclusively theirs. Then, of course, that feeling of pure radiance was transformed into horror and grief and despair in 15 seconds. And now, on October 27th, like a fighter who's taken a vicious blow to the stomach and has groggily arisen, this region moves on and moves ahead. And one part of that scenario is the resumption of the World Series. No one in this ballpark tonight, no player, no vendor, no fan, no writer, no announcer, in fact, no one in this area, period, can forget the images, the column of smoke in the marina, the severed bridge, the grotesque tangle of concrete in Oakland. The pictures are embedded in our minds. And while the mourning and the agonizing and the after effects continue, in about 30 minutes, the plate umpire, Vic Voltaggio, will say, "Play ball." And the players will play, the vendors will sell, the crowd will exhort, the announcers will announce. And for many of the 6 million people in this region, it will be like revisiting Fantasyland. But Fantasyland is where baseball comes from anyway. And maybe right about now, that's the perfect place for a 3-hour rest. Before the game tonight, you'll hear from the commissioner of baseball, the mayors of San Francisco and Oakland, and the managers of the two teams. Right now, to Gary Thorne with Fay Vincent.
Thank you, Al. Commissioner, the winds of fate in the past 6 months have certainly found you. Your personal thoughts as you get set for Game 3 here tonight?
Well, they're complicated thoughts. I guess I think first of the people who've suffered the last 2 weeks. I'm sorry for them. I'm delighted, on the other hand, that baseball can be a symbol of recovery, and I guess personally I'm just thrilled to be able to see a good ball game.
As you get ready for this one, there's been so much discussion about putting the game in perspective. Your comment on that?
Well, I think one of our objectives was to keep baseball in its place over this last week and a half. I think we did that. Now I think baseball belongs where it is, on the field, and we're very happy to be playing.
And all the discussion also about what it might do for this area. By the sound of this crowd tonight, they are ready for the game to be played.
Well, they are. That's not a surprise to me. I had every belief that they would be ready for baseball. Now I think this represents a recovery of San Francisco and the area. It's a wonderful feeling.
Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Al?
Okay, Gary, there is a special ceremony about to take place. For that, let's join the PA announcer, Jeffrey Bonds.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we ask that you please rise for a special ceremony. 10 days ago at this time, as we prepared for Game 3 of the World Series here at Candlestick Park, a major earthquake shook Northern California, killing dozens of people and widespread destruction throughout the Bay Area. Please join together now to observe a moment of silence in memory of those who perished in this disaster. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants, and the Oakland A's share not only in the community's tragic sense of loss, but also in its legendary spirit of resurrection from such a catastrophe. Nowhere is the spirit embodied more than in the 1936 song San Francisco, as popularized by Jeanette MacDonald in the film of the same name about the city's recovery from the great earthquake and fire of 1906. In tribute to this undaunted vitality of Northern California, and to your own camaraderie as baseball fans, let's all turn and shake hands with those around us. Then join with the cast of the award-winning San Francisco musical review, Beach Blanket Babylon, for a rousing rendition of San Francisco.
This great big world to find the place you love. My home upon the hill. I love you still. I've been away, but now I'm back to tell you. San Francisco, open your golden gate. You let no stranger wait outside your door. San Francisco, here is your wandering one. Say I want to go more. Other places only make me love you best. Tell me you're the heart of all the golden west. San Francisco, welcome me home again. I'm coming home to go, going no more.
Volunteers have helped those affected by the earthquake. You can help too. Make a credit card contribution by calling 1-800-453-9000 or send your contribution to American Red Cross Disaster Relief, P.O. Box 37243, Washington, D.C. 20013. Please specify that your contribution go to a Bay Area earthquake relief effort. Thank you for your support.
89 World Series, the Oakland Athletics versus the San Francisco Giants. Brought to you by Michelin. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. And by Acura Legend and Integra. Precision crafted performance exclusively at your Acura dealer.
Back in San Francisco, Candlestick Park, gorgeous late afternoon. Temperature in the 60s, and I'm joined by two men who have been rather busy of late. Art Agnos is with me, the mayor of San Francisco, and across the bay in his office in Oakland is Mayor Lionel Wilson. And Mayor Agnos, I'll begin with you. How is the recovery process going for your city, the city of San Francisco?
It's superb. San Francisco is ready and is as hot as the World Series is right out there today. The cable cars are running, Chinatown is bustling, Fisherman's Wharf is open, and the city is back, just like the World Series.
What about the major problems that you will have ahead now?
Well, our major problems are going to be rebuilding the homes that were affected in that small part of the city, that in the marina that was so heavily impacted, a couple of other isolated areas, and the people of this city have rebounded superbly. We've gotten tremendous support from all over the nation, from every American. It seems as though it's been terrific.
Mayor Wilson, how about your city, the city of Oakland, and its recovery process? How is it going?
Well, we're well on the way to recovery, although it's early yet, because there have been so many aftershocks that it's difficult to tell what the final tally is going to be in terms of the damage. But the people are together. It's been marvelous to see the way the people in the community have come together. I've never seen them come together around any other problem or any other issue, the way they have come together around this earthquake and the problems entailed to it. So we're coming along well.
The most important problems, sir, that you and your city will face in the near future, what will they be?
Well, the most important problem for us also will be housing. Housing those whom we had to dispossess, those we had to evacuate out of their homes of whatever nature they were, and rebuilding and providing houses and homes for the people.
Your Coliseum, we understand, will be ready for games 6 and 7, but I would assume you are hoping that that's a moot point at this point.
Well, it is a moot point, and our Coliseum is ready. It's ready right now, and if we had to go today as far as the Coliseum itself is concerned, that Coliseum would be ready, so it's in good shape.
A final thought from you, Mayor Agnos?
Well, I just want to say thank you to the Commissioner of Baseball and Major League Baseball for the extraordinary contribution that they've made in terms of their understanding, their sympathy, as have all Americans around the country and friends from all over the world, Japan and Taiwan. And a lot of people have been asking what they can do to help, and I'd just like to say that the Northern California Earthquake Fund, care of the Bank of America, or they can call a toll-free number of 1-900-386-0101 to help us with this recovery. We're very grateful to everyone.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. Game 3 of the World Series coming up shortly. We'll return to Candlestick Park right after this message and an ABC News brief.
Tribute to the spirit of competition from MCI. Proof that commitment to excellence brings out the best.
Candlestick Park in San Francisco continues to fill up for game series. Once again to the PA announcer, Jeffrey Bonds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series. With tonight's starting lineups, here's the voice of the San Francisco Giants, Hank Greenwald.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Here are the starting lineups for tonight's game. First, from the American League champion Oakland A's. The manager, number 10, Tony La Russa. Left fielder, number 24, Ricky Henderson. Batting second and playing third base, number 4, Carney Lansford. Hitting third and playing right field, number 33, Jose Canseco. First baseman, number 25, Mark McGuire. Hitting fifth and playing center field, number 42, Dave Henderson. Batting sixth and catching, number 36, Terry Steinbach. Hitting seventh, the second baseman, number 2, Tony Phillips. Batting eighth, the shortstop, number 7, Walt Weiss. And batting ninth and pitching for the A's tonight, warming up in the bullpen, number 34, Dave Stewart, and the rest of the non-starters and coaches for the Oakland A's. Francisco Giants. The manager, number 38, Roger Craig. Leading off and playing center field, number 2, Brett Butler. Batting second, the second baseman, number 6, Robbie Thompson. Hitting third, first baseman, number 22, Will Clark. Left field, number 7, Kevin Mitchell. Hitting fifth and playing third base, number 10, Ken Oberkfell. Batting sixth, the shortstop, number 9, Matt Williams. Hitting seventh and catching, number 16, Terry Kennedy. Batting eighth and playing right field, number 25, Pat Sheridan. Batting ninth and pitching for the Giants tonight, warming up in the bullpen, number 50, Scott Gurels. And the rest of the non-starters and coaches for the San Francisco Giants.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to center field. Presenting the colors for tonight's game, the Letterman Army Medical Center color guard from the Presidio of San Francisco. And now, ladies and gentlemen, may we ask that you please rise to honor America with the singing of our national anthem. Please welcome national recording artists Larry, Steve, and Rudy, the Gatlin Brothers.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
We return to Candlestick after this message courtesy of Major League Baseball and a word from our ABC stations.
In '87, it was the Twins. In '88, it was the Dodgers. Who will take home the prize in '89? Whoever it is, you can capture all the excitement again and again with the official 1989 World Series home video from CBS Fox Video Sports. To order your official video, call 1-800-4ABC-VCR. That's 1-800-4ABC-VCR. Just $19.98 plus $3 each for shipping and handling.
In the Bay Area, October, normally the best month, and a classic example today at about 5:25 on this Friday afternoon. It's gorgeous in the Bay Area. Temperature in the low 60s in San Francisco. Candlestick Park is filling up. 60,000 or so will look on tonight as we get set for the resumption of the 1989 World Series, as the American League champion Oakland A's take on the National League champion San Francisco Giants. The A's leading in the series 2-0. I'm Al Michaels. Where were we? A long, long time ago, Ricky Henderson was stealing bases and hitting home runs, and there was something about Cito Gaston saying that Dennis Eckersley was doctoring the baseball, and the A's were beating Toronto to win the American League playoffs. And a long, long time ago, Will Clark hit a single up the middle in the 8th inning against the Chicago Cubs off Mitch Williams, and the Giants won their first pennant in 27 seasons. And once upon a time, Dave Stewart pitched a shutout in Oakland in Game 1 of the World Series, and once upon a time, Mike Moore pitched very well. Eckersley came out of the pen, and Terry Steinbach hit a 3-run homer, and the Oakland A's led in the World Series 2-0. And now we're back. And now I'm back, delighted to be joined by Tim McCarver. Just share your thoughts as we get set for Game 3 here, Tim.
Well, Al, I think the question of preparedness are prominent in all of our minds. Just how prepared are these two teams to play after the long layoff? The San Francisco Giants with the best home record in the National League, 53-28. But will that be neutralized because of the layoffs and a very, very good Oakland Athletics team? As far as the Athletics are concerned, remember when we talked about the focus the Athletics had back in games 1 and 2, being beaten by the Dodgers last year? Well, you got to wonder about whether the Athletics are going to be interrupted as far as their play is concerned. I mean, after all, both teams have been off 10 days, and to allay that, Tony La Russa took his team to Phoenix, and by the way, they beat their Winter Instruction League team yesterday, 7-0, so their winning streak's still intact.
In front of several thousand fans. Right. They came back last night. The Giants, of course, have remained here. Jim Palmer also with us. Jim, your thoughts as we prepare now for Game 3?
Well, my thought, of course, I'm proud to be an ex-baseball player because I feel that the Commissioner of Baseball, Faye Jensen, did an outstanding job. Very sensitive to the needs of the San Francisco people and everybody in this area. But if you go back to a question, and this question I've gotten, who's going to dominate? Is it going to be the pitchers or going to hitters? It's going to be the pitcher. I'm not saying that because I'm a former pitcher, but I'll tell you what, it's to me the interesting question is how did each manager prepare themselves to come back here to the third game? How do you face a Dave Stewart? Well, they just took batting practice if you're Roger Craig and the Giants. Tony La Russa, and it's the thing that Al Michaels told you about in Game 1 and 2, they are focused. I believe he made them have inter-squad games because he felt they'd be better. Ricky Henderson said it best. He said, we're prepared for this game because we have faced the best pitching in baseball, our pitching.
On the subject of managers, a little earlier, our Joe Morgan talked with both managers, Roger Craig of the Giants, Tony La Russa of the A's.
Tony, you and Roger have had to deal with some circumstances unparalleled in the history of the World Series. You dealt with yours by taking your team to Phoenix. Was the weather a consideration, or you just thought you had to do something different?
Well, absolutely, Joe. The only reason to go down there was we had a forecast of rain either Wednesday or probably Thursday. Our outfield's so wet that we thought, well, to get ready, we don't want to miss some of this hitting. As it turned out, there were 2 beautiful days. If you'd have guaranteed that weather, we'd have been better off staying.
Were you satisfied with the performance you got down in Phoenix?
Well, we worked out fine. We got the work in. I don't think anybody could have predicted that we'd have had the crowds down there. It just showed us that I think people are very excited about baseball and are happy to see us playing it.
No batting practice today?
Well, we're going to slip in a little bit here at the end. It's a real tough time coming across San Mateo, but some way, somehow, we'll be ready for whatever Roger has in store for us.
Roger, you went about yours differently. You kept the Giants here, played a few practice games, but then you stopped that.
Well, we worked out the first 2 days after the earthquake, Joe. Then I didn't see the intensity, the desire. The players were not having any fun hitting off the guys, throwing 95 miles an hour. So I just called a day off and let them come back and just take batting practice, kind of do what they wanted to put the fun back in the game. I think the psychological effect had more to do with it than the physical effect, and I think we're as ready as we can be.
The intensity going to be there tonight?
I think so. I think you can see now, as you look around, the stands are filling up. It's going to be a great night for baseball, and I think once they throw out the first pitch, it's going to be just like it was. I don't think you'll even know what happened.
I think it'll be a good game. Let's have a good ball game.
Looking forward to it.
And that first pitch is just moments away at Candlestick Park, Game 3 of the 1989 World Series. And the pitching matchup tonight, Dave Stewart for Oakland, Scott Gereltz for San Francisco.
Ladies and gentlemen, may we direct your attention to the pitch. Very special ceremony. In the aftermath of last week's earthquake, thousands of public servants and volunteers from scores of local and regional agencies, along with hundreds of ordinary citizens, performed heroically in the rescue and recovery efforts throughout the Bay Area. In recognition of these efforts, these 12 individuals are with us this evening to represent their organizations and to symbolize their countless co-workers and neighbors who also gave unselfishly in this dark hour. Throwing out tonight's ceremonial first ball, our San Francisco firefighter, Jerry Shannon. The medical director of Oakland Highlands Hospital, Dr. Floyd Hugh. Pacific Gas and Electric Company gas serviceman, Dave Lopez. San Francisco police officer, Alvin Wong. Caltrans Associate Bridge Engineer, Steve Whipple. California Conservation Corps San Francisco branch volunteer, Juan Moncada. Oakland Fire Department Captain, Ron Carter. Santa Cruz County Red Cross Chapter Chairwoman, Corey Livingston. Pacific Bell District Manager, John Adez. Santa Cruz Area Salvation Army Volunteer, Shelley Cruz. California Highway Patrol Lieutenant Clifford Gray. And San Francisco Deputy Sheriff, Terry Tussey. Thank you very much, and the Bay Area salutes you for your great effort in this time of need.
An unforgettable moment at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, where this crowd, and if you were with us during the introduction of the starting lineups, naturally the Giants, this being their home park, the crowd very much into it. Very much into it. No question. Some thought perhaps the response would be somewhat muted early on and then might build. But no, sir, as the Giants take the field.
Really, the bonding and the banding together of the entire region.
One thing, better late than never, never felt better. Scott Gereltz goes to the mound for the Giants. And he was the starting pitcher in Game 1 of the World Series, which took place 13 nights ago at the Oakland Coliseum. Among the things that have happened while we were waiting for the series to resume is an entire change in both pitching rotations. In the original Game 3 a week ago Tuesday, it was going to be Don Robinson for San Francisco and Bob Welch for Oakland, and now we're back to the starters in Game 1. And the lineup for the A's with Ricky Henderson, Carney Lansford, and Jose Canseco hitting third. Mark McGuire, the cleanup hitter. Dave Henderson in center. Steinbach is the catcher. Tony Phillips at second. Walt Weiss, who homered in Game 1 off Gereltz at shortstop. And again, just to refresh you, we're in the National League Park, and that means no designated hitter. Dave Parker, the A's DH, played a big role in Games 1 and 2, but he is limited to pinch hitting duty here. The pitchers will hit Mitchell, Butler, and Sheridan in the Giant outfield. Oberkfell at third, Williams at short, Thompson at second, Clark at first. Kennedy back at the plate, Gereltz is pitching, and because the Giants in those first two games of the World Series had only 9 hits, Roger Craig was going to make these changes anyway. In Game 3 a week ago Tuesday, with Oberkfell at third, Williams over to short, and Sheridan in right.
Ricky Henderson has been, throughout the postseason, dominating most valuable player in the American League Championship Series. He is 5 for 8, the entire San Francisco team with 9 hits among them. And Ricky Henderson has 5 as the leadoff batter for the Oakland Athletics.
And strangely, even though he is 5 for 8, he has been much quieter in the World Series than he was against Toronto, and he dominated. So here we go. Several days later, Game 3 of the World Series is underway with a strike. And you know that baseball is back when Henderson looks back at Voltaggio on the very first pitch of the game and questions the call.
The delay didn't change that, did it?
No. Breaking pitch away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Henderson started the season with the Yankees, then came over in June and really sparked the A's. He gets fisted and grounds it to short. Matt Williams throws him out. So Garrelts, as he was unable to do, facing Henderson in Game 1, is able to keep him off the bases as he gets him to ground out to short, and Carney Lansford comes to the plate.
There you saw how Williams just nursed the ball over to Clark at first. He's the youngest player in the World Series.
That's lined into center field for a base hit. So Lansford picks up his 3rd hit of the World Series, a 1-out single here in the first inning. Carney has good speed. He stole 37 bases this season, but he was not really a base-stealing threat in the first 2 games of the series because of a pulled hamstring.
All 3 of his hits have come as in the first time at bat. That's his 3rd hit in the series, all during his first time at bat. But my point about Williams, he nursed that throw to first base. That's usually what happens until the players get the butterflies out.
Jose Canseco at the plate, takes inside, ball 1. Canseco, and it's been forgotten, working on a string right now. He is 0 for his last 23 in the last 2 World Series. The record is 31. He's chasing one Marv Owen, who got a lot of publicity as everybody was scrambling for stories in the past couple of days. And again, it's up and in. 2-0, and Canseco, after taking 2 pitches inside, and of all things, Jose begins to go toward the mound. Some of the players exit the dugout, but it will stop right there, and La Russa comes out to talk to Voltaggio.
You know, that's just misdirected passion right there. I mean, there's no way that Scott Garrelts is throwing at Canseco under these, of all circumstances, under these circumstances. That is very close, however, and the book on Canseco is you've got to pitch him inside.
Well, you can see how close it is, and of course Garrelts, who had some problems with his mechanical workings of his windup in the first game, having it again.
So the spirit of unbound love in this region, which had even extended to these 2 teams, at least as far as the teams are concerned, lasts about 3 minutes. The 2-0 pitch is on the inside corner, and the count is 2-1.
Now you wondered if they were going to have any intensity, and you already see right there, especially a guy struggling. Don't mess with my head, it's hard to see. Twilight type of situation here in San Francisco.
Clark holding Lansford on at first. 1 out, first inning, no score, and 2-1 on Canseco. Breaking pitch into the hole, and that's a base hit. Lansford will stop at second as Mitchell gets it back in. So Jose snaps the string. He had not had a World Series hit since that grand slam home run in Game 1 against the Dodgers last year, forever forgotten because Gibson ended the game with a dramatic homer, and now a single here in the first inning.
A breaking ball that he did not get in a good location. A lot of times as you look at Roger Craig, he's got to be a little concerned. He said he would go to the bullpen in a hurry tonight. Down 2-0.
Mark McGuire swings late and the count is 0-1. Well, Craig has to manage this game as if it's the last game of the season in effect. No team has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the World Series. Several, however, have come back from 0-2. And McGuire fouls it away and the count is 0-2.
And so many times you learn from your mistakes. And Norm Sherry, Roger Craig, hoped that Scott Garrelts learned from the mistakes he made in Game 1. He did not pitch that badly. Did give up 5 runs, 4 of them earned. Only 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. But what he did do is have very bad pitch selection. Did not throw the proper pitches to the proper hitters.
Lansford at second, Canseco at first. 1 out. And the runners go as it's grounded to the hole. Williams up with it. One-handed throws to first for the out. The runners advance with Lansford now at third and Canseco at second. And again, it's Matt Williams who has been playing third for the Giants for the most part through the second half of the season. Was the third baseman through the playoffs and in the first 2 games, who moves over to short and makes the play here.
Pretty exciting baseball with Mark McGuire hitting and running, runners at first and second. A play that, as far as the big leagues are concerned, happened much more often this year than in past years. The first and second hit and run. You saw a lot more teams do it this year.
2 on, 2 out, and Dave Henderson, who is 0 for 6 in the World Series and hasn't hit the ball out of the infield, takes away ball 1. Now Garrelts, with first base open, naturally can afford to be more careful with Henderson here, but he has Steinbach waiting on deck. In the air to right field and deep, and Sheridan goes back, and it's off the top of the fence. And in play, 2 runs will score, and Henderson has a double. Dave saying, wasn't it a home run, but the right field umpire, Paul Runke, was down the line and there to call it. Said it hit the top of the fence and bounces back, and it's 2-0 A's and almost 3-0.
And that's already more runs than Scott Garrelts averages here at Candlestick Park. 157. A little bit over a run and a half. As you look Sheridan go back, he's an outstanding defensive outfielder. Gets up, but just not high enough. The ball goes off the top of the fence. 2 extra umpires, one down the left field line, Paul Runke down the right field line. Makes this call a lot easier as you see it hit right on the top of the fence.
Now Steinbach pops it up in foul territory. Kennedy comes back, and there is a lot of room, but not enough there, and the count is 0-1.
We talked about a better offensive lineup, but you're also talking normally about a better defensive outfielder. Sheridan a lot better than Maldonado. Throws better range, charges the ball well.
And the reason Pat didn't have a chance to get back on that ball, the ball didn't have a lot of hang time. So Sheridan didn't have a chance to get back, set himself at the fence, and jump for the ball.
Pitch away in the count 1-1. He jumped high enough, but he didn't have it gauged correctly where it came down.
Right.
Breaking pitch away. Vertically, Sheridan was okay. Horizontally is where the problem existed. So it's 2-0 on a double by Henderson. The first time that Henderson has hit the ball out of the infield in the 3 games. Good breaking pitch with the count 2-2. The A's in the World Series, winning Game 1 back of Dave Stewart 5-0, winning Game 2 by a score of 5-1. Steinbach hitting a 3-run homer in that one. That's grounded to third, scooped up by Oberkfell, and that's that in the first. But the A's get a couple to take the lead. After a half, Oakland 2 and San Francisco coming up. Candlestick Park in San Francisco. Gorgeous day in the Bay Area. The A's scoring 2 runs in the top of the first, and now their ace going to the mound, Dave Stewart. 3 years in a row, he's won 20 or more, and in postseason, 2 victories against Toronto, 1 against San Francisco in Game 1 of the World Series. And he will be facing the Giants tonight with a revamped lineup, a different one than he saw in Game 1, in the sense that Oberkfell is in the lineup and Sheridan is in the lineup, and then Williams drops down to the number 6 spot from number 5. Brett Butler to lead off for the Giants. Butler, Robbie Thompson, and Will Clark in the bottom of the first. Brett 1 for 6 in the World Series, and the first pitch to the screen, 1-0. Pat Sheridan jumping high enough, but missing the drive off Henderson's bat, and it's 2-0. And the count is 2-0. Butler, Thompson, and Clark in the bottom of the first. Dave Stewart working for the first time since a week ago Saturday. Throws a strike in the count, 2-1.
And how they tried to get him ready for this game is to have a simulated game a week ago Thursday. That would have put him right on target for Tuesday's game.
Lifted to left field, and Henderson was playing him in that direction anyway and makes the catch. So Ricky takes care of Butler. Here's the Giants lineup again if you missed the pregame introductions. With Butler leading off, then Thompson and Clark. Mitchell is in the cleanup spot. Oberkfell in the lineup tonight, hitting 5th. Matt Williams, Terry Kennedy, Pat Sheridan 8th, and Garrelts. Robbie Thompson, 241 during the regular season with 13 homers. And anything but the typical number 2 hitter because he struck out 133 times during the regular year.
I think it's only fair to note that did have some shoulder problems that bothered him in the second half of the season. In fact, got a cortisone shot 2 days ago. Very gingerly taking both throwing and hitting practice yesterday.
1-2 the count. If anything, the Giants had more players benefiting from the delay than the A's. Clark with a knee and tonsillitis. Thompson, Mitchell's wrist, and Robbie Thompson gone on strikes. Here's the split forkball, your preference, and down goes Thompson.
Well, they call it a forkball in Oakland, split-fingered fastball in San Francisco. I tell you, 18 miles apart, pitch still does the difference. The same thing, just goes down. You can't pick up the spin. It's an off-speed pitch in some sort, a little bit slower than Stewart's 88 to 92 mile per hour fastball.
18 miles via the San Mateo Bridge. 8 miles if you're a bird. In the air, down the line, curling foul, and Lansford giving chase and sliding and unable to backhand it. As in Oakland, plenty of room here in foul territory. It tapers off down the line, and Carney comes up checking his wrist. Candlestick Park, a stadium that was built in the late 50s and opened in 1960. The Giants came west in 58, spent 2 seasons at Old Seal Stadium, then moved in here in 62, and this is the first World Series game to be played here since 1962 as Clark swings and misses and the count is 0-2.
Yeah, Will said that basically the pattern that Stewart had with him, nobody on base, saw a lot of fastballs, somebody on base, split-fingered fastballs.
Still 0-2.
Excuse me, Al, but Timmy, of course, you're a former hitter, 4 decades. Pitcher will change. I mean, that's part of the baseball. You have to change as a hitter. Stewart, right, of course, may change tonight. They both watched the films.
I don't know whether Stewart's inclined to change as much. He threw a shutout his last time up.
And one of the few people who did give him a problem that night was Clark with a single and a double. He had 2 of the 4 hits.
And the other time popped up and lined out. So 3 out of 4 times he had to be happy not with the result of the game, but his at-bats.
Yeah, remarkably, Dave Stewart winning 20 for the third year in a row. His first shutout of the season this year.
And Clark gone on strikes. So after the A's get 2 in the top of the inning, the Giants are gone in order. End of 1 in game 3. Still a spectacular sight. Boy, you can only ponder. It's amazing. You look at it from the blimp. It's standing, folks. It sure is. There it is in all its regal splendor. The city of San Francisco. Cosmetically looking beautiful, as always. But, of course, we all know about the deep, deep scars. World Series, Game 3, second inning. Tony Phillips, the batter, check swing foul at the plate, evening the count at 1-1. Phillips, Walt Weiss, and then Dave Stewart. Tony, switch hitter, and a most valuable Oakland A. It's such a high-profile team. He's one of those kind of lost in the publicity shuffle, but not in the mind of Tony La Russa. 2-1.
The only positions Phillips didn't play this year, he didn't catch, he didn't pitch, and he didn't play center field. But he played the other 6. Terrific athlete. Some think he is the best athlete, pure athlete, on the Oakland Ball Club.
2-2 the count. Spectacular sight. Looking north. Into your shot. For the moment came the Bay Bridge. As Phillips on a check swing foul rolls it off to the left, and the count remains 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Tell you, Al, as far as the Giants are concerned, it might be too nice a day today. One of the big reasons the Giants and Scott Garrell's 10-2 in this ballpark, Roger Craig's troops, one of the reasons that they had the best record in the National League was because most of the teams that come in here have to fight the elements.
Check swing, they appeal, and he's punched out at third by Gregg. Nick Voltaggio didn't call it a swinging strike. The ball was dropped by Kennedy. He made the tag, and then it's official when Gregg puts the big right arm up.
See Voltaggio not making the call. He checks with Eric Gregg, and Eric gives him the strikeout sign. You can see right here, it's where the bat goes, and did he catch the ball in the air? Kennedy does it, and there's Eric.
Weiss pops it down the line in foul territory, and that drops untouched in the bullpen. 0-1 on Walt, who hit only 3 homers during the regular season, but homered in Game 1 against Garrelts. Weiss, with knee surgery, missed about half the season. Last year's Rookie of the Year in the American League. 1-1.
And the home run came on a split-fingered fastball, same pitch that just struck out Tony Phillips. It was not a good pitch in Game 1 for Scott Garrelts because he didn't have command of it.
To center field, Butler gauging it, drifting back. 2 down in the second inning. Two out, bases empty. The A's are ahead 2-0. And Dave Stewart will come up, obviously, for the first time this season, even though Stewart, in parts of 6 seasons in the National League, hit 196. He was 10 for 51. There it is, his career mark. In there in the count 0-1.
And it has been a long drought for American League pitchers in World Series play. 0 for their last 67, dating back to 1979 when Tim Stoddard, teammate of yours, Jim.
Yeah, you know what happened that day? The Orioles were staging a rally, coming from behind as a game they won. I was on the bench. So anyway, Stoddard, as you look at Dave Park, he couldn't even get anybody else in there. He let Stoddard hit. He got a base hit.
A's gone in order, to the amusement of even Parker. Candlestick Park, Al Michaels with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver, Game 3 of the World Series. Oakland on top 2-0 as we go to the bottom of the second inning. And the middle of the order for the Giants, Kevin Mitchell, who led the majors in homers and runs batted in. Then Ken Oberkfell and Matt Williams. Stewart set the Giants down in order in the first and begins by missing away here. Ball one. 1-0. Mitchell 3 for 8 in the World Series. And did pretty well in the playoffs against the Cubs. He was 6 for 17 as well, but that was all obliterated because of Will Clark's performance. Obliterated in the minds of fans. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. Here at Candlestick tonight, all you needed, of course, was your ticket stub. The original Game 3 was sold out. And the stub alone gets you back into the ballpark. Only about 75 people turned their original ticket stubs in. And Mitchell has gone on strikes. And so Dave Stewart, picking right up where he left off a week ago Saturday, has retired the first 4, and he has struck out 3 in a row.
Well, power hitter, power pitcher. Did not get that ball where he wants to. Tried to go inside. You can see Steinbach sitting in. That ball's away, but you see the great movement along with the velocity that Dave Stewart has. Plus, he's already thrown enough split fingers to make the hitters look for it.
Oberkfell at the plate. Oberkfell picked up from Pittsburgh in May, a most valuable Giant coming off the bench this year. He was a regular, you'll recall, with St. Louis and Atlanta. Then he went to Pittsburgh and then to San Francisco. And back in the lineup as Craig tries to find some punch. Giants limited in this World Series to 9 hits in now 19 in the 3rd innings. Count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Pitch hit base hit off Mike Moore. Just slapped it into left field in Game 2. Likes to describe himself, Ken does, as a patient hitter. And he said, that's what I'm going to try to do off Dave Stewart. Not swing at the split finger until I have to. I got to do it with 2 strikes.
One of the raps on Oberkfell is that he's not an RBI man. And usually those two go hand in hand. If you don't strike out a lot, you don't drive in many runs.
To right field, Canseco nearly misjudged it, but finds it and makes the catch. It's still a little tough right now in the twilight. Lights not having full effect. And they will in about another 20 or 25 minutes. But for the moment, it can be a little tricky. Matt Williams, I guess that statement there reflecting the thoughts of so many of the players on both sides tonight. One and 0 the count. Williams expressing his thoughts. Boy, you find out a lot about these players in times like this. Dave Stewart in particular. I mean, every time you saw Dave Stewart interview before this tragedy, it was always in regard to baseball. And you knew that he was an articulate man and an intelligent man, but of all the players who have expressed their thoughts during this terrible time, no one with any more articulateness than the man on the mound, Dave Stewart. And he can really feel it because he's from the area originally. That's driven to deep left field. And Matt Williams has hit it out. up their second run of the World Series, their first home run, and they want Williams back out. Terry Kennedy, the batter, takes a strike. Williams did come out for his curtain call, and the score is 2-1. 0-2 the count.
18 home runs during the regular season for the Giants. He had 26 in Phoenix. Gives him 44 and 3 in postseason play.
And Kennedy gone on 3 pitches. So Stewart comes back to strike out his 4th Giant, but San Francisco gets a run. Sunset in Northern California.
This home run by Matt Williams doesn't give the Giants the lead, but it gives them confidence. Only the second extra base hit in the series for the Giants. The other a double by Will Clark.
And home run's no stranger to Stewart. On a hanging split-fingered fastball, came right back to get Kennedy out on the same pitch.
Now Ricky Henderson to start the 3rd inning. Top of the order, Henderson, Lansford, and Canseco. One and 1 to count. Stu, I guess forever destined to finish 2nd or 3rd in the Cy Young balloting. It's going to happen again this year, probably.
Oh yeah, a lot of people wonder how you can be baseball's most consistent player or pitcher over the last 3 years and not win a Cy Young award. Well, it's simple. Just have 3 superlative years, and then somebody each year has a little bit better. 87, it was Clemens. 20-9 with a lower ERA. In 88 it was Viola, and this year Brett Saberhagen. Saberhagen going 23-6 with the lowest ERA in baseball for a starter. It's 2.16, just a little bit lower than Scott Garrelts, who led the National League with a 2.22.
3-1 pitch is fouled off, and the count 3-2 on Henderson. Ricky was one of the few A's who got here in plenty of time for the game. The team bus left the Oakland Coliseum at about 1:45 and didn't arrive at Candlestick Park until around 3:20 this afternoon. So they had a truncated batting practice as Henderson rips one into left center for a base hit and more as Mitchell has to play it off the fence, and Ricky has a double. Henderson hitting it so hard. That's the type of ball that's a guaranteed double on AstroTurf, but normally dies on the grass in this park, or at least is cut off by an outfielder. And Henderson able to drive it through the gap and winds up at second.
We told you in game 1 and 2 that Henderson does not mind hitting with a 3-2 count. The reason, he knows he's not going to be walked. So you take a little bit off if you're the pitcher. He feels comfortable. And on AstroTurf, with the ball bounding around, is probably a triple.
Lansford, look out, and the count is 1-0.
Lansford trying to go the other way. He has right field on his mind, so therefore he's ducking out over the plate. That's the second close pitch thrown by Scott Garrelts. The other one, of course, to Jose Canseco in the 1st inning. But that pitch looked more inside than it really was because Lansford is trying to hit the ball the other way.
Which he does there and strokes it foul, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike.
A great right field hitter. Reminds me of a great former Oakland A, Joe Rudy. Similar batting style. Rudy with more power. But Lansford had a terrific year, hitting .336. Only 2 home runs, so he hits the inside out of the ball. This is a perfect situation for him.
1-1. Williams ducking in back of Henderson to keep him close to second, and the pitch is inside. When Henderson's at second, you have to pay attention to him, much as you do at first base, obviously, because Ricky, if you give him a decent lead, and sometimes even if you don't, he'll take off.
Well taken point. You got to make him stop, and he does not need a big lead to steal.
And again, Lansford's fighting it off, trying to go the other way with it, and the count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Roger Craig, Bob Lillis.
Lansford again trying to go the other way. That's why Henderson isn't going to steal with nobody out. He's less likely to steal with none out than he is with 1 out. Because with nobody out, Lansford may push him to third, and for that reason, you don't need to steal third base.
Yeah, Carney can help the ball club not only by getting obviously Ricky Henderson to third base, but he can hit the ball the other side and not really impair his batting average. He does that so much over the course of the season.
Henderson stole third 21 times this year. The 2-2 pitch just missing, and Kennedy wanted the ball. Voltaggio says,
well, you know, sometimes you even fool the umpire. That ball is about dead center, just above the knees.
in the NFL, it's strike 3 upon further review. Henderson at second, nobody out. Third inning, 2-1, Oakland. 3-2 to Lansford, got him. Three strikeouts for Scott Garrels, and Canseco comes up.
Well, an umpire will tell you he'll never ever evens it up. Ball looked close enough to call, and it was. Of course, I'll tell you what, you go back to that first pitch, Tim, that ball way up and in, it will make you freeze on the breaking ball.
There goes Henderson. Canseco takes a strike. The throw not in time. Good jump. Ricky steals third. So with one out, he goes. With nobody out, giving Lansford a chance to hit the ball. But there it is, a perfect illustration of what he normally does.
It's just intelligent team play. Henderson giving Lansford a chance to get him over, and he took things into his own hands, or into his own feet, really.
Giants compelled now to play the infield in, and the count on Canseco is 1-1. He's in there.
The only time that Henderson has been thrown out, he was thrown out by Kennedy at third base in the 6th inning of Game 2.
That's Ricky's second steal of the series and his 10th in postseason. And tying the record set by Davey Lopes in 1981. 1-2 on Canseco. Jose, 1 home run in that championship series, and that, of course, was the monstrous shot at the Sky Dome. Fastball is a little squibber to third. Oberkfell able to check the runner, and they're going to say now a foul ball or not. Canseco is saying a foul ball, but the umpire Voltaggio is saying no, sir. And of course, the Nippy Jones stories will now come out. What about the shoe polish? And La Russa will go to Voltaggio and say, let's check with the first base umpire, Dutch Renner.
The one problem is the Oakland Athletics have white shoes and the baseball's white.
That's right.
I think the ball might have hit him, and for this reason. I don't think you can act that quickly. If the ball hits your foot, as opposed to hitting the ground, you can't act that quickly. Talking about the NFL instant replay. That ball hit his foot. That ball came right off his foot.
Meanwhile, that one hits Garrels, who is able to recover, and a soft toss to Clark to take care of McGuire. And they check out Garrels, who really took a shot. A bullet back through the middle as he comes staggering off the mound. But the A's are gone, leaving Henderson at third in the third.
The San Francisco Giants. You can help the Bay Area recover from the earthquake. Make a credit card contribution by calling 1-800-453-9000 or send your contribution to American Red Cross Disaster Relief, P.O. Box 37243, Washington, D.C. 20013. Please specify that your contribution go to the Bay Area Earthquake Relief Effort. Thank you for your support.
Candlestick Park in San Francisco as we go to the bottom of the third inning. Another look now at the Canseco play here, Tim.
This is very, very close, and if an umpire can't tell, it appears to have hit his foot. If an umpire can't tell, you've got to go by the reaction of the hitter. Now see, that ball appears to hit Canseco's foot, but his reaction was more telling than that instant replay because he stopped. Your natural inclination when you hit a ball on the ground that didn't hit your foot, you run to first. But because he stopped, I think that was the best indication of all.
Pat Sheridan leads off the bottom of the third by hitting a soft bouncer down to Phillips, and he's gone. So one away here in the bottom of the third inning, and the batter will be Scott Garrelts. Yeah, you're exactly right. And it's a case of you know it's off your foot or it's hit your foot, so you figure, well, everybody else knows.
Right. And you can't think that quickly. A more telling sign of you trying to get away with something would be to run 3 steps toward first and then stop. Then it's a different story.
Here's Garrelts. I mentioned Nippy Jones. You go back to 57, the Braves and the Yankees, and one of the key plays in that. Jones hit by a pitch, and it was only determined that he was hit by a pitch when they discovered the shoe polish on the ball. 1-1. Good thing he used his kiwi that day, huh? That is Alcatraz, the island sitting out in the middle of San Francisco Bay. Marin County in the background and the great city of San Francisco in the foreground as Garrelts fouls it away and they count 1-2. Butler on deck. Garrelts this season with 2 triples, including one which ended up with him on the disabled list. And down he goes on strikes. Garrelts in a game against the Cubs, in fact, we were doing it as a Thursday night telecast this year, hurt himself sliding into third and wound up going on the DL. 2 down, and Brett Butler is the batter. And a reminder, tomorrow, Saturday here on ABC at noon Eastern time, Indiana takes on Michigan. College football. Then regional action, you'll see Washington against UCLA or Ohio State against Minnesota following at 3:30 Eastern time. And then we're back here tomorrow at 8 Eastern time for the World Series Game 4. Butler hits a soft fly ball to Dave Henderson. And 9 of the 10 Giants have gone down. The only blemish on the Stewart ledger, the home run by Williams. 2-1 Oakland. San Francisco World Series resuming tonight, Game 3, and on to the 4th inning we go with Dave Henderson to lead off, then Steinbach and Phillips, and the first pitch is outside for a ball. Henderson a 2-run double off the top of the right field fence in the first inning to give Oakland the lead. You know, you walk around the area and people have said, and I'm sure they've said it to you guys too, tell everybody we're okay. We're okay. We're bouncing back. The city's fine. Come on out.
Boy, and it is a special city. People have been fantastic.
The whole area. There's a drive to deep right center field, and that one is gone. Dave Henderson this time hits it over after hitting the top of the fence in the first inning. This one clears it by a couple of feet in the 4th.
He's such a clutch player for Oakland. Playoffs, World Series, even when he had a bad playoff, the one hit he got was a home run. That was in '86. 2 outs, 2 strikes. Fine center fielder, and he's put it on a show tonight. Garrelts tried to come up a little bit different pitching pattern.
Here's Steinbach grounding one to short. A nice convenient hop for Matt Williams. And the A's catcher is out, number 1.
Now what Garrelts would like to do is get him out with breaking balls. He threw him 2 breaking balls, got behind, had to come in with a fastball. Still got to hit it, and that's what Dave Henderson did. But an idea of what kind of strength Dave Henderson has always been a good hitter because he will hit the ball the other way, and he can do it with power.
Plus the ball carries better to right center in this ballpark than any other park.
And that one carries very well to right field, and that one is gone off the bat of Phillips. And the Giant bullpen is busy.
You got to wonder, Al, what the line drive off Gereltz did last inning. When he came off the mound, he's had that type of year where you don't want to leave, but all three really hits this inning have been hit right on the number.
And here comes Craig. It's always a tip-off when the catcher looks over into the dugout. It's almost as if he's saying he's lost it. And Kennedy took a long look into the dugout, and Craig comes out. And Kelly Downs throwing in the bullpen. And in he comes, and as we mentioned before, Craig has to manage like this is the last game of the year. Gerelt's out, Downs comes in. In town, the lights come on, and at Candlestick Park, the A's are trying to turn the Giants' lights out. They lead 4-1. Gerelt's leaving the game. And again, Gereltz was hit by this line drive off McGuire's bat, ending the third inning.
Definitely, you see Weiss hit it to Clark at first. And there's two down, but that had to lead to his demise. Hit him on the right side. We really couldn't tell from the angle whether it got him in the arm or in the right rib cage. But again, if you have a kind of year that Gerelt's have, you're not going to leave the game until Roger Craig has to do what's best for his team.
Something you really can't understand either. I mean, Scott Gerelt's in 193 innings during the season gave up only 11 home runs. In postseason play, in about 18 innings, he's given up 7 home runs. 19 innings to be exact. Of course, your competition is a lot better in postseason play. You're playing against the best.
Also more innings than he's ever pitched before. As you look at Kelly Downs, a couple of innings. Game 2 has pitched extremely well. Resilient rubber arm, good slider, and he gets to face the pitcher.
And he's a hit on him, no balls and 2 strikes. Down really one of the unsung heroes in the league championship series, twice coming out of the bullpen and effectively filling the role of long man. Kelly Downs, the 0-2 pitch is just outside. 1-2.
All the runs have been scored off San Francisco starting pitchers. Bullpen has done a fine job when they've got into the games.
One ball, 2 strikes.
People sitting at home, excuse me, why you don't start a Kelly Downs after he pitched so well in the championship series? You got to go with the guys that got you to the playoffs. And again, Downs, as we said, even though he's had some shoulder problems, has shown Roger Craig a great fastball, a good slider, and again that resilient arm that can bounce back with only a day between pitching performances.
Well, I think Craig felt that was the perfect role for Downs with his reconstructed pitching staff, because he could do something that he figured Gereltz couldn't do. Soft looper right into the glove of Thompson. But a couple of homers in the 4th by Dave Henderson and Tony Phillips. 4-1 is the score, and back we come after a word from our ABC stations. You know, folks, you can help the Bay Area recover from the earthquake. You can make a credit card contribution by calling 1-800-453-9000 or send your contribution to that address, P.O. Box 37243, Washington, D.C., and specify that your contribution go to the Bay Area earthquake relief effort. World Series resuming at Candlestick Park. Game 3, the A's are on top by a score of 4-1, and Robbie Thompson to lead off in the bottom of the 4th. Thompson, Clark, and Mitchell. Robbie struck out in the 1st inning and waves at a breaking pitch. It doesn't get it. 0-1. One hit for the Giants. That a home run to left field by Matt Williams, which is his only hit in the series. Got the inside corner, and the count is 0-2.
down he goes on the fork or split finger. Second time he has struck out. And in 3 1/3 innings, that's 6 strikeouts for Dave Stewart. And Will Clark talking to himself as he comes up.
Well, that's the advantage of staying ahead. Dave Stewart doing a terrific job staying ahead. 6 strikeouts, and he has used those fork balls to his advantage. But if you don't stay ahead, hitters won't swing at the balls out of the strike zone.
Clark lines it into center field for a base hit. So with 1 out, a single by Clark here in the 4th inning, and the crowd comes very much alive again as Kevin Mitchell comes to the plate.
And that's the way to combat that. When they try to get ahead, hit the first pitch.
Will Clark went home, watched the films. He said, hey, Stewart, like I said, Stewart throws me fastball with nobody on, and that's what he got, and he pinked it into center field.
Kevin Mitchell struck out in the 2nd inning. Takes away ball 1.
You talked about the home runs. You're looking at the home run leader in the major leagues with 47. Stewart threw 23, 3 in the playoffs, and then 1 here tonight. Never ever a 3-run home run. No grand slams either.
That's grounded to the hole and a base hit, and the Giants have runners at first and second. Oberfeld coming to the plate.
A similar pitch that Matt Williams hit for a home run, except this ball is a little bit farther outside. Fork ball up in the strike zone. You see a perfect example of Kevin Mitchell's strength. Took a ball outside and pulled it by the 3rd baseman.
Oberfeld fly to Canseco in the 2nd inning. 1-0.
Dave Stewart needs a ground ball, but this season he had about 100 more outs in the air than he did on the ground, which means that in a situation like this, you can't look for the double play ball as you would normally. Stewart does not throw a lot of ground balls.
Crowd chanting OB, OB. 2-0.
Yeah, but the only time you're going to see somebody hit a ground ball is if he got ahead and could throw that fork ball. Well, it's 2-0. Real good hitting situation for Oberfeld. As we told you, a patient guy. He can look for his pitch. 2-0. He knows Stewart with a 3-1 lead. Doesn't want to walk him, especially with Matt Williams on deck. He's already homered.
3-0. Oberfeld at first. Hayes infield double play depth, and Williams who homered in the 2nd.
Side of that coin, and 292 times at bat. struck out 72 times.
Yeah, but now with the count 0-2, you can go out of the strike zone. That's been Stewart's pattern. And he needs a strikeout here.
Yeah, home run came on a 2-1 pitch. Good point.
Williams not fighting, 1-2. Jeff Brantley gets up in the Giants' pen as Craig looks ahead. Williams is hitting in the 6th spot. Kennedy is on deck. Bases loaded, 1 out in the 4th. 4-1 A's. And the 1-2 pitch to Williams in the dirt, 2-2. Got him. Williams couldn't pull the trigger. Perfect pitch by Stewart and a big second out. 2 down and Kennedy comes up. And that's 7 strikeouts for Stu.
Wonder how you win 20 games 3 years in a row. You got to make clutch pitches at clutch times. And you can't be afraid to throw the ball over the plate and challenge a hitter. Of course, that challenge was right on the outside corner.
Now Kennedy, who's been cold at the plate in postseason, swings and misses. He hit .239 during the regular season. Inside, 1 ball and 1 strike on Kennedy. And that's lined into center field for a base hit. Clark comes in to score. Here comes Mitchell. The throw is cut off. It's 4-3.
You saw a clutch pitch by Stewart to Matt Williams, and now you see a clutch hit by Terry Kennedy. An outside fastball drilled up the middle. Good hitting by Kennedy.
I got to think that Stewart threw the ball exactly where he wanted to. Kennedy, who struggled really since 1987. That's the biggest hit in a couple of years.
Sheridan with 2 out takes the ball and the count is 1-0. Giants have Oberkfell at second, Kennedy at first. It's 4-3 in the 4th. Sheridan, the number 8 hitter. In the American League Park, you wouldn't have to worry about it next with the pitcher Downs out on deck, but here it's a whole other story. Unless Brantley continues to throw in the Giants' pen for Roger Craig. 1-1 the count on Sheridan. Ball 2. Giant to hit in the inning. Downs comes on deck. And the 2-2 pitch is grounded to the right side. Great diving stop by McGuire, but the throw does get him. Stewart gets over there just in time to take care of him at first base, but the Giants get 2 to make it 4-3.
With a runner attempting to steal second, a batter swings and misses at the pitch. His bat then hits the catcher, interfering with his throw. Is the batter out? Is the runner out? You make the call. Because the batter did not intentionally interfere with the catcher, he is not out, nor is the runner. However, the runner must return to first base. If you said so, you made the right call.
One of the first things Dave Stewart will tell you, how do you win 20 games? You take advantage of an underrated defense. McGuire at 6'5", about 230. Well, he just heads off a ball destined for right field. Would have tied it up 4-4. Good play by Stewart covering first base, something you do all spring training, and really paid off here. Great agility for the big guy.
So the Giants settle for the 2 on Kennedy's 2-run single in the 4th inning. And now on to the 5th. In the top of the order with Ricky Henderson facing Kelly Downs, and the pitch inside, ball 1. One thing McGuire's play did is it kept Downs in the game. Had he not been able to throw Sheridan out at first base, Craig would have been compelled to go to the bench, and then Brantley would have been in. Now you not only have Downs pitching in the top of the 5th inning, but assuming he keeps the A's close, he would probably lead off in the bottom of the 5th. Strike to Henderson, and the count is 2-1.
If young hitters could only understand that you become a better hitter when you take a pitcher's pitch. That was the 15th strike Ricky Henderson has taken during the series. It's almost a misnomer. People say, well, how can you be a better hitter if you take? The reason to take is to get ahead, and Ricky Henderson often gets ahead in the count.
Two and two the count. And now it's full.
And once again, he runs it to 3-2. You know, it brings up a perfect point. Hitters that swing at balls hardly ever get strikes to swing at, because pitchers are smart enough to know that they don't want to get them out inside the strike zone. They want to have them expand the strike zone.
And Henderson is on. So Ricky Henderson leading off, which is just the way the A's like it, not only at the start of the game, but in any particular inning. It's the 3rd time he's led off tonight, and the 2nd time he's reached. And Lansford comes to the plate. Clark holding Henderson on at first. Ricky 77 steals during the regular season and caught just 14 times. And the pitch to Lansford is inside, ball 1.
And what he makes you do, Ricky Henderson, as a pitcher, is most of the time you got to either throw a hard breaking ball or the fastball. It makes you jump because you want to get the ball to home plate in such a hurry. Ruins your timing.
1-1. Downs both times on both pitches thus far to Lansford, keeping Henderson close to first.
But again, as you mentioned, it's not the lead, it's can you stop him? When you take a look at Ricky, is he stopped? In other words, is he static? Is he stationary?
This time he goes, gets a good jump, the pitch misses, and the throw to second misses as well, and Henderson with a steal.
And there was a quick release, a good fastball, a good pitch for Kenny to throw on. No chance, because he had a running lead. His momentum was going to second base. It wasn't that his gravity was going towards the ground, going back to first base.
Another thing speed does for you, it allows you not to have to give up outs. Normally, with routine speed at first base, Lansford would be bunting in a situation like this. He may be now with the count 2 balls and a strike.
But again, Henderson, after stealing second, would be more tentative stealing third until there's one out. And he looked like he may have jammed his right wrist sliding into second base.
And Dr. Clark, Al Clark, takes a look at it. Meanwhile, Henderson, 11 steals. That breaks Lopes' record in 81. And again, of course, you only had the World Series through 1969 when the leagues expanded and divided into divisions and then postseason play. And in 81, in fact, Lopes had an extra set of games because that was the year of the strike, and they had divisional playoffs as well. Inside ball 3-1 the count on Lansford. So Henderson setting the record in what would be his 8th postseason game. 5 in the playoffs and now 3 in the series. And Lansford is on. So Downs has walked the first 2 A's here in the 5th inning, and Canseco comes to the plate. And Craig goes to the mound, and what's the most important inning for Downs, because the Giants scrambling back into the game with 2 in the bottom of the 4th. And the last thing they'll want to see is the A's reestablish a 2 or 3 run cushion.
Yeah, any momentum the Giants have going for them can be stifled right here. First 2 guys on. Boy, but what a tremendous year Lansford's had. Only 1 month that he hit under 300. I think that was June. 2 months he hit over 400. 336. And Tim, you told us that's the highest since he led the American League in batting back in the early 80s.
Jose Canseco comes to the plate. He singled in the first inning to snap an 0 for 23 streak over the last 2 World Series. Then he grounded out in the 3rd, and he comes up here with runners at first and second and nobody out. A's ahead by a run, and the Giants not even remotely thinking bunt. The infield back at what would be regular depth. And it's popped foul back into the upper deck behind us, and the count is 0-1. There's Brantley again, throwing in the bullpen, up for the second time. Again, the pitcher due to lead off in the bottom of the 5th. If Craig had to go to his bullpen here in the inning, he'd probably make a double switch and send either Maldonado or Nixon into right field and have them bat 9th, and the pitcher hit 8th. Henderson at second. Lansford is the runner at first. 0-1 the count. Breaking pitch. 1-1.
One of the key plays in this game so far, Tony La Russa having the runners running, Lansford and Canseco in the first inning with McGuire hitting. And that allowed Henderson to bat with 2 outs, and he drove them both in with a double. But had both runners not been running, McGuire may have grounded into a double play.
On the corner, and the count 2-2.
And they are trying to do, the Giants, to Jose Canseco, exactly what the Dodgers did last year in the World Series. Pound him inside, count on his aggressiveness to expand the strike zone. In other words, don't let him hit a strike. That's how they got him out last time on that questionable ball off his foot.
Pickoff play at second, and real close. Henderson going back and standing up.
That's what made it close. Had he gotten down, it wouldn't have been this close. But he almost leans into the tag. That is a very, very close play.
And again, Thompson gets there. Ooh, close again.
You know, a lot of times you'll do that to maybe cut a step or 2 off a runner's lead, but the way Henderson runs the bases, you're trying to pick him off. I mean, he's going to score in a single.
get a slow guy out there, you can make him a step or two back towards second. It'll make a big difference for your outfielder as far as throwing somebody out. But with Ricky,
drops down, and it's drilled to deep left center field, and Jose Canseco on a 2-2 pitch has hit it out. A 3-run home run, and it's 7-3 Oakland. McGuire hits the next pitch in the air in foul territory. Kennedy comes all the way back, runs out of room. One thing the A's have done consistently now in postseason in the 8 games, they have taken advantage of walks time after time after time. They did it against Toronto, and 2 walks precede this 3-run homer.
Downs dropped down, and Canseco went downtown. Flat breaking ball.
Hit it into area code 900. The count 0-2.
Yeah, that's the way to exercise the demons of World Series pass. Get a hanging slider when you're trying to make contact. You know he can hit it 550 feet. Well, he only drilled that one about 420 on the line.
And the count on McGuire is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Now, if you went to any pitcher in the American League and you'd say, what's the one pitch you don't want to throw Jose Canseco? That's a flat slider in the center of the plate. That's what Downs did.
Breaking pitch takes care of McGuire, so Downs finally gets the first out of the 5th inning. 1 down, and it will bring up Dave Henderson, who has done his damage tonight by virtue of a double to score 2 in the first and a solo homer in the 4th. Oakland has hit 3 homers in the game. Dave Henderson, Phillips, and Canseco. And the Giants, the home run by Matt Williams.
And your point about walks, so well taken. Of the 9 Oakland Athletics that have walked, 6 have scored.
But when you look at their lineup, there are situations, of course, in baseball where you could just say all of the time, hey, you can't walk people, it'll come back to hurt you. But especially in a lineup like this one. And there's another towering drive to deep center field. Butler goes back, and Henderson has hit his 2nd home run. The 4th by the A's, the 5th on this winless night at Candlestick, and it's 8-3. Everybody was figuring, well, the layoff would do one thing. The pitchers would be way ahead of the hitters. Say what?
Oh, Ricky Henderson said it best. Hey, we hit off some pretty good pitchers in these inter-squad games. It looked like they missed a beat.
World Series record for most home runs in a game is 6. We've had 5. Here comes Brantley, and back we come to Candlestick Park after this. Brantley comes in to pitch, and the first man he faces is Terry Steinbach. Brantley will hit in the number 8 spot, and as we had suggested, Candy Maldonado comes into the game in a double switch in right field, batting 9th, which means Maldonado, and there he is, taking Sheridan's spot in the outfield, will lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning. 1 out in the 5th inning, 8-3. Oakland. Dave Henderson with 2 home runs and a double that hit the top of the fence. Two and 1 the count. Brantley used as a long man now, but as Craig looks ahead and looks down the line, he thinks Brantley will make a terrific closer. And the count 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And that's one of the reasons. 91 mile per hour fastball.
at least over the ability to throw it over 90 miles per hour. Pretty good breaking ball. As almost all the pitchers here in San Francisco, throws the Roger Craig split finger fastball.
Still 3-2 on Steinbach. 8 runs and 8 hits for the A's, including 4 homers. 3 runs and 4 hits for the Giants, including 1 homer. And that's ball 4. So Steinbach draws the 3rd walk of the inning. Phillips comes up. Home runs in 2 consecutive innings. Who's done it? It's pretty good company. Babe Ruth, Big Clue, Reggie, Willie Mays Aikens, and D. Henderson does it tonight.
And Tony Phillips could do it too. He homered in the 4th inning. Bay Day.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if Phillips, after only hitting 4 all year, hits 2 home runs in back-to-back innings, we're playing with 1987 baseballs, in spite of what it says on them.
They're going out like that tonight, but that's Candlestick Park on a windless night. On a windy night, you don't know what you're going to get, because there's no such thing as a prevailing wind here. What you really have in Candlestick Park when it blows is wind shear. But tonight, and this is a typical October night, everybody making such a big deal out of what will Candlestick be like in October. It was like that in the playoffs, like that tonight, and we've got a balk. So you even have balks on windless nights at Candlestick. The most famous balk of all, of course, was Stu Miller in the wind in the All-Star game in '62. Now back live. That's in for a strike, and the count 1-1.
Oh, Vic Voltaggio thought he started his windup. If you start it all and stop, of course, Jeff Brantley will tell you I stepped off before I broke my hands or I stopped my windup. It does put a runner in scoring position.
One to Phillips. Good fastball, and the count is 1-2.
Yeah, I believe Stu Miller still lives around the area here. Boy, what a relief pitcher he was. Do you ever hit off him, Tim? Or try to hit off him?
I was up there against him. The head jerk, right?
Oh, the parachute ball. In fact, he originated the BP fastball. Just a routine pitch he threw in there with a neck jerk.
And Phillips has gone on strikes. Phillips, thinking it was the 3rd out, was ready to flip his helmet away. He'd already thrown the bat away. And momentarily avoids a little embarrassment, and would have had we not brought it up, I suppose. But there it is for all of you to see. Oh, yeah. 3 gone. Not quite. Okay.
That's what long innings will do to you.
Tony almost had our tape truck rolling in a commercial. 2 down, and Weiss at the plate. The count 1-0. 8-3 Oakland in the 5th inning. If the Giants go down 0-3, no team has ever overcome that deficit, but several have overcome 0-2 since the mid-50s. None before that. The first time a team came back from 0-2, it was the Dodgers winning their first ever world title in Brooklyn in '55. But since then, it's become more common than uncommon. The majority of teams since that point have overcome 0-2. 2-1. There it is, 9 of the last 17, and you don't have to go back very far. The Mets did it in '86. Royals did it in '85. And Weiss hits a bouncer to the hole. Clark fields and flips the ball to Brantley, and that's that. But a damaging inning for the Giants as the A's pick up 4 and lead it 8-3. Candlestick Park, where the game began in sunshine at about 5:30. The Goodyear blimp hovering high above Candlestick Park. John Creighton is the pilot. Sully sending the shots down from above Candlestick Park, which was erupting in the bottom of the 4th inning as the Giants rally to get back into the game. Dave Stewart, and we mentioned Dave Stewart and what he has said over this terrible stretch of time. One of his remarks right there. And a man who we mentioned before is from the area, born and raised in what's known as the East Bay, and now coming back home to enjoy the fruits of his career, and he's at the pinnacle of it right now. A man who, as many of you know, was released in 1986 looking for a job. Boy, has he ever found one. Maldonado on a half swing, hits it softly by the mound. Phillips is there to come up with it, and Candy is gone on the first pitch in the bottom of the 5th inning. So 1 away, and Brett Butler comes to the plate. Stewart, released by the Phillies in '86, told us before the World Series that that wasn't the low point. The low point was 5 days later when the phone had not rung. He said that was the lowest of the low, because then you feel you may be done. Truly. Butler takes outside, ball 1.
Yeah, and such outstanding ability. I saw him pitch early 80s and into the 80s. Always had a great arm, but he's certainly become an outstanding pitcher. When I say that, I mean really mixes up his pitches well. We have not seen a curveball. He used to be a fastball curveball pitcher. Tonight he has stayed really with a fastball and the split fingered, and it's been a struggle.
Butler hits one to center field. Dave Henderson is right there. 2 down.
The one thing that Dave Stewart will do is throw the ball over. Only 1 walk tonight. That was Oberfeld last inning. So with an 8-3 lead, he's not afraid to come in there, even if he gets behind.
Well, the split finger fastball has really been his salvation. Encouraged to throw it by Dave Duncan. Interesting story about how Duncan learned about the split finger fastball.
Robbie Thompson hits a fly ball to shallow left field, and Henderson comes on, and Ricky makes the catch on the run. So a quick inning for Dave Stewart as the Giants go out 1-2-3 here in the 5th. It remains 8-3 A's, and will return after a word from our ABC stations. To the 6th inning in Game 3. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver with the A's on top 8-3, and Dave Stewart leading off. Then Ricky Henderson and Carney Lansford. And then Stewart chops one off his arm at the plate. 1-1 on Stewart, who is 0 for 2 tonight, and again no American League pitcher with a World Series hit since 1979.
Dave not worried about hits, he's worried about at-bats. If he gets up 4 times, he's pitched well.
Shallow right center. Robbie Thompson says he'll take care of it. Stewart is 0 for 3, and Ricky Henderson comes up. It's the first time in the game Henderson has not led off an inning.
Talked about Dave Stewart and that split finger fastball. Everybody thinks Roger Craig is the guru, and certainly he's the modern day guru of the split finger fastball. But we mentioned Dave Duncan. Dave Duncan, the pitching coach of the Oakland Athletics, found out about the split finger fastball in a very unusual way. Gaylord Perry, when pitching for the Cleveland Indians, there's Dave in the middle of your screen. When pitching for the Cleveland Indians in 1973, everybody thought, Dave told me, everybody thought he was throwing splitters or spitters then, and he was throwing splitters, not spitters. And he saw how effective that pitch was, and has been very helpful with the Oakland pitching staff in teaching it to them.
That's grounded sharply on a hop to third, and Oberfeld fires to first, and they take care of Henderson. So Ricky is gone. Henderson, by the way, that's the 35th plate appearance for him in postseason, and he's reached 21 times, and that's 60%. So 60% on and 40 off. Oberkfell throwing him out.
Not a tough play, but when you've been a pinch hitter all year, they're all difficult. Makes it easily.
Now Lansford hits it in the air to left field and deep, and going back is Mitchell, and that one is gone. And that ties a World Series record for most home runs in a game by a team, and most in the game by two teams as well. It's 9-3. The Yankees against the Cardinals in 1928 hit 5 in a game, and there have been 6 in the game from both clubs on 3 separate occasions, and now 4. And Canseco at the plate takes a strike, and the count is 0-1. That's it high in the air to left field. Mitchell fading back, still going back on the track, and makes the catch. And so even the outs are long as the A's go down in the 6th. It's 9-3 Oakland. Happy man, Walter A. Haas Jr., his wife Evelyn. He owns the Oakland A's. He's also the managing general partner, and he is a San Franciscan. But he is more of an East Bayer in the world of baseball, as his team is now 12 outs away from being 1 game away, 1 victory away from a world title. 9-3. The A's on top as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Will Clark, Kevin Mitchell, and Ken Oberkfell. 2 balls and no strikes the count on Clark. Up in Mr. Weiss's neighborhood. 1 away. So 1 gone, and Kevin Mitchell is the batter. And with the NFL season coming up to the halfway mark, the Minnesota Vikings take on the New York Giants. A great matchup at the Meadowlands on Monday at 9 Eastern time. You'll see Herschel Walker against the Giants, leaders in the NFC East. A great way to spend Monday night, as always, with the Gifford and Double D. And I don't know who else at this point. Pitch to Mitchell for a strike, and the count 0-1.
The way things are going, you might make it.
Well, game 4 here tomorrow. Game 5, if necessary, would be played at Candlestick Park on Sunday. And if the series were then to continue on, Monday would be an off day, and then Tuesday, and if necessary, Wednesday, at the Oakland Coliseum. Rolling Stones notwithstanding. Don Robinson will be tomorrow night's pitcher. Rick Russell was hit the other day by a line drive off the back of his shoulder, had a flu as well, and he's been pushed back in the rotation. Big Daddy, and there he is. I think he's feeling a little better as far as the flu is concerned. The question is his shoulder. But Robinson is in ink tomorrow, and Russell in pencil for Sunday.
You know, baseball is a marvelous game. Tim, you talked about the fact that Stewart's a fly ball pitcher, 100 more outs with fly balls and grounders, and on a night where the ball is flying, haven't yet to hit a home run. Excuse me, only the home run by Williams.
Only 3 ground ball outs retired by Dave Stewart. He has struck out 7 and walked only 1.
To center field, Dave Henderson moving over. And Henderson, who spent a brief part of 1987 in a Giant uniform, makes the catch. Well, we mentioned most home runs in a game, 1 team. The A's tying the mark tonight. The Yankees against the Cardinals. Babe Ruth hit 3. Lou Gehrig hit 1. I'm not sure if you heard of those two fellas, but I know you all remember Cedric Durst, who hit the 5th. Pitch to Oberkfell, missing, ball 1, 1-0. One and one.
Yeah, his best friends called him Rick. You're certainly aware of that.
There is the Transamerica Pyramid, accentuating the skyline of San Francisco. And that's a base hit into right field by Oberkfell. So Oberkfell picks up the Giants' 5th hit. 2-out single here in the 6th inning, and Matt Williams comes to the plate. He homered in the 2nd and struck out in the 4th. Tony La Russa, Dave Duncan. Center field, relatively deep but very playable for Dave Henderson, and that's that for the Giants. Another air out. To the 7th we go. 9th
area earthquake relief effort. We thank you for your support.
The 1989 World Series, brought to you by
at Candlestick Park. On we go to the 7th inning, game 3 of the World Series. The Athletics trying to go up 3-0, and they lead it 9-3. Back of Dave Stewart, and on the strength of 5 home runs. Mark McGwire, who hit 33 during the regular season, has not joined the home run parade tonight. Swings and misses, and the count is 0-1.
Or during the series, only Mark McGwire and Ricky Henderson haven't homered for the A's, and that includes Dave Parker, the designated hitter. So 7 A's have combined for the home runs in this series. They have really spread it around. There's David.
Night off. No DH here. 2-1. I wonder if Parker's going to have a matching set of those earrings after the World Series.
Yeah, he said, I won't help him offensively. He said, but I'll tell you what, I can cheer. I make a great cheerleader. He had a fine year. 38, come back to have that kind of year. 22 home runs, 97 RBIs, which led the A's.
3-2 the count.
Yeah, well, there you saw Dave Henderson. You saw one earring. Probably will get the other one. But McGwire, 49 home runs 3 years ago, then 32, 33 this year. And the 2 guys in Major League history, the other guy, Jose Canseco, that hit 30 plus their first 3 years.
And McGwire is on, so another walk to an Oakland A, and that's been poisoned through postseason for the opposition. And here is Dave Henderson. Hit a double off the top of the fence, missed a home run by inches in the 1st, homered in the 4th, homered in the 5th. Outside of that, nothing.
It doesn't look like the Giants pitching staff, not pitching in their squad games, are very sharp. You know, Grell struggled, Downs, who pitched well, struggled not only with control but also the type of stuff he had, and Brantley's all over the place.
One and 0 the count. Bob Lillis, Roger Craig, Norm Sherry, Bill Fahey. Quiet Giant dugout. Henderson fouls it away. The thing about Henderson and the way he responds in postseason, the dramatic home run in the 5th game of the playoffs in '86, sending the Red Sox to an eventual pennant, and then were it not for the Mets comeback in the 6th game of the World Series, he'd have won that game with a home run.
Yeah. And also a sacrifice fly in the 11th inning, won it for the Boston Red Sox in Game 5 after he had tied it in the 9th.
Exactly. Lost in the shuffle. And that home run, by the way, in the 5th game of the playoffs against the Angels was his only hit in that series.
1 for 9.
2-1 the count. Atlee Hammaker gets up in the Giant bullpen. Brantley is due to hit 2nd in the bottom of the 7th. This will be his final inning as Henderson fouls it away. It's funny how certain guys just seem to wind up where the action is. Joe Morgan used to be that way, whether he was at Houston or Cincinnati or San Francisco when the Giants came close to winning a division crown in '82. Philadelphia, those guys would always seem to wind up in postseason action. And here's Dave Henderson. Boston in '86, the Giants in '87, though he was ineligible for the playoffs. Oakland last year, Oakland this year. Oberkfell to Thompson 1 to first for 2. So they finally get Henderson and get a bonus as well as he grounds into a double play, and there are 2 down with the bases empty, and Terry Steinbach coming up.
Yeah, I always felt that Dave Henderson was a realist, and the statement he made during the delay from the earthquake, he said, you know, when guys were complaining, a little bit impatient, he said, let them go home. They're not under contract. They don't want to hang around and play the World Series, something we have strived all year for. Let them go home.
That's grounded through Oberkfell's legs, backed up by Williams, and too late at first base. So E5, as Ken Oberkfell can't come up with it. And the A's with Steinbach at first base and 2 down have Phillips coming to the plate.
Ball stayed down on Oberkfell. Watch it hug the ground. And Obi's glove is up, and it scoots on through for the first error of the ball game.
And that brings up a point you made in, I think, first in '87. You're playing the infield. You always want to stay below the hop. In other words, a lot easier to come up than to go down. That was a perfect illustration.
Tell you, the first time I ever heard that explained in that particular fashion was from Bob Kennedy, who was the minor league director of the Cardinals back in 1973. Keep your glove below the hop.
And that's the Bob Kennedy who's Terry's dad.
Right.
And is now a Giants executive.
Now is the minor league director of the San Francisco Giants.
Two down with Phillips at the plate, and he grounds it toward the hole, but Thompson is there to one-handed on the grass and get him. At the end of 6.5, it remains 9-3 A's. You know, one thing, the crowd is pretty quiet now because it's 9-3 for the opposition at Candlestick Park. It's worth noting, they were boisterous early on. It was an ebullient kind of crowd, and there was no question the people in the Bay Area overwhelmingly wanted the World Series to continue.
No question about it.
No, they've been waiting for baseball for 10 days. I think they're a little tentative now, especially the Giant fans.
Sure.
Well, there was so much talk about whether or not the World Series would have credibility and all of the rest as Kennedy begins the bottom of the 7th by popping out to Lansford. But if you were here, and we have all been here through the duration and talked to people and felt the pulse and all of that, there was no question in my mind that the overwhelming majority wanted it to be played. In fact, there was a poll yesterday, a phone-in poll. The results were in the San Francisco Examiner, the afternoon paper. 4 out of 5 said, keep on going. And it was real simple. The people who loved baseball wanted baseball. The people who were ambivalent about baseball before were going to be ambivalent after. It didn't matter to them. But it was an option. It was a choice. And certainly the response tonight of this crowd with Ernest Riles hitting here for Brantley has proven it in spades. As we say right now, it's quiet because their team is down by 6, but you could really feel it during the pregame ceremonies, at the start of the game, when Matt Williams hit his home run, and when the Giants rallied for 2 in the 4th. I mean, they were really into it. Fly ball to center field, but room there for Dave Henderson. Backing up edge of the track. And Riles is out number 2. So 2 down here in the 7th inning. And Candy Maldonado comes to the plate. Atlee Hammaker has made his way in from the bullpen. He'll be the new pitcher in the top of the 8th inning. There's Atlee.
Talk about momentum, the crowd being in the ball game. You got to go back to that great play that McGuire made. Had Stewart on the ropes, the diving, sprawling play to end the inning in the 3rd. That would have tied it up. Check that actually the 4th inning.
And if he doesn't get him at first base, the other thing that would have done is it would have made Craig hit for Downs, and as it turned out, Downs didn't have it tonight.
Three-run home run by Canseco in the next inning.
0-2 pitch is taken high, ball 1. 1-2.
A lot of people would argue, of course, the Dodgers had the lowest earned run average in all of Major League pitching. They don't have a DH over there in the National League, but second consecutive year, the A's have led the American League in earned run average. And there's a reason for that.
Postseason play, no pitcher winning 2 games in both the Championship Series, the World Series in the same year. Stewart trying to do it tonight.
There was, however, a pitcher that won 4 games in postseason play. That was Bert Hooton back in 1981. But one of those games was in the Divisional Championship Series when the Dodgers played the Houston Astros. They won 1 in the Divisional Championship Series, 2 in the NLCS, and 1 in the World Series.
Maldonado barely stays alive, and the count 3-2. Nelson, Rick Honeycutt in the bullpen. As Maldonado goes down on strikes. And for Smoke Stewart, that's number 8. On to the 8th. Al Michaels, Jim Palmer, Tim McCarver to the 8th inning. Atlee Hammaker is the new Giant pitcher. And Walt Weiss leading off for the A's. 0-1 the count. Weiss, and then we're going to see a pinch hitter. Dave Stewart has gone to the clubhouse. He's done after 7. Lance Blankenship has come out on deck. And then we'll see Ricky Henderson. There's a chopper, and it is a fair ball fielded by Oberkfell. Throw too late. So Weiss legs out an infield single. Looked like it may have even bounced off the corner of the plate and high in the air, and so Weiss is on.
And Will Clark does all he can. He tries to cheat. Watch him leave the base just a tad early. He tried to get it, but it appeared that Weiss just beat the play. Good call by Dutch Renner.
Here is Lance Blankenship getting his first chance to play in the World Series. This year, spent some time at Tacoma. 25 games in AAA, 58 games with the A's. He is the only rookie on the A's roster. And he looks at a strike and the count on 1. He can play the outfield or second base.
Assumed the role of a utility man with Weiss out with a knee injury for about 65 ball games.
And he fouls it away, and the count is 0-2.
That's a pretty good right fielder. I saw him make some excellent plays in Baltimore this summer.
Very unusual that he's the only rookie on the Oakland roster also, because Canseco, McGuire, and Walt Weiss were rookies of the year 3 consecutive seasons, 86, 7, and 8. So by saying that Blankenship's the only rookie on the Athletics club is by no means to say that they're an old ball club.
1-2.
I think they have the makings of dynastic proportions.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's going to worry a lot of teams in the American League.
Right.
99 wins, 104 last year.
And not only that, but as they say with Henderson on deck, they're prouder of what they've done this year, with Canseco gone half the year and Weiss gone half the year, and Eckersley was out for a quarter of the season. And they were able to withstand the challenges of the Royals and the Angels. I mean, for most of the season, you had the 3 best records in baseball, all in the American League West.
Kansas City winning over 90 games. The same with the Angels. I think they won 91. Stayed right with them.
2-2 is ripped back through the middle for a base hit. Weiss will stop at second as Butler's throw comes in. And so back-to-back singles beginning the 8th inning, and Ricky Henderson will be coming to the plate. A's on top 9-3. Game 4 tomorrow, Saturday. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. We'll be with you.
Boy, no chance. A lot of hard hit balls tonight.
Mike Moore, who was the winner in Game 2 tomorrow, and Don Robinson pushed up ahead of Rick Russell to work. 8 o'clock Eastern time from Candlestick. Mañana. Ricky Henderson. Mentioned before, Henderson, one of the few A's who is at the park because he lives on this side of the bay. And if Tony La Russa did, well, I guess, one thing wrong in this World Series, he had the team bus leave a little too late today at 1:45 with the Bay Bridge down and down until the end of November. That cuts off the major artery and meant the A's had to come over on the San Mateo Bridge with a lot of traffic, and they didn't get here till about 20 after 3, unless they had a shortened batting practice. Though you'd never know it. Actually, when I think about it, maybe La Russa was dead right. They didn't leave it in the cage.
Didn't leave it in the rehearsal hall, did they?
No. But Henderson lives here in Hillsborough, where the elite meet to eat, and he is among the elite. And that's hit in the air to center field. Brett Butler backs up. The runners are both tagging. Weiss is on his way to third, and then Blankenship holds at first as the throw comes into second. So Weiss moves up 90 feet. The A's now have runners at the corners as Henderson skies to center, and Carney Lansford comes to the plate.
Yeah, good play by Brett Butler. It seems like it's insignificant, but trailing 9-3. But I'll tell you what, your motion wants you to have you keep the guy at second, but he doesn't throw that well. Good sense is let him go to third, keep a double play in order. Ricky's saying that could have been the 6th home run. He got a high slider and just got it up on the bat.
Lansford chops one, and Oberkfell can't get it, and that'll score a run as Blankenship comes in, or Weiss comes in, and it's juggled by Mitchell, and another run scores as Blankenship crosses the plate following Weiss, and the A's add 2 more and lead it 11-3. And for Lansford, his 3rd hit, he has a single, a walk, a home run, and now a chopping base hit.
Outstanding base running by Lance Blankenship. Going to third, making Mitchell hurry on the throw, and because Blankenship went to third, he's allowed to come home because it's the 2nd error of the game against the Giants.
It's a single, it's 1 run batted in, it's an error on Mitchell. It's 11-3, and the batter is Jose Canseco. Little squibber to short. Williams throws to first, and that's too late as Clark has to come off the bag. And Lansford goes to third. And the 2 third basemen get together, and it's almost as if Oberkfell said to Lansford one of those nights, and Carney said, yeah, no.
You can see Williams, he hurries, but Canseco can run. And right here, Clark trying to stay on the base. He is safe. But I'll tell you what, Lansford, who was at second, went to third. I think Will Clark's thinking, hey, he may go home. Kind of undoubtful in an 11-3 ball game, but I think Will had Lansford on his mind.
McGuire hits one in the air, twisting foul and dropping back out of play. 0-1. So Canseco with a single. He has 3 hits tonight. The A's have 13. And strangely, McGuire has none of those. And he's the cleanup hitter. So on a night when they tie the World Series record for most homers in the game, the man in the 4-hole hasn't hit the ball out of the infield.
Of course, one of those did a lot of damage. The ball off Scott Garrelt's right side eventually led to Scott leaving the ball game. Barrage of a couple of home runs.
0-2 the count. A's ahead 11-3. So all three games routes to this point. 5-0 Oakland in game 1. 5-1 Oakland in game 2. Not quite routes, but mini routes. Certainly domination because of the pitching.
They've outscored the Giants 21-4.
That is a collective route.
Right.
Lefferts throwing in the bullpen. That's hit back off Hamaker's glove. Thompson is there. Off balance throw. Gets him for the second out, but coming in to score is Lansford to make it 12-3. So McGuire will get an RBI, 1-4-3. Third run across in the inning. Down to second on the play goes Canseco, and Dave Henderson comes up.
Well, not hit hard off the fist. And you can just see what makes Robbie Thompson such a good second baseman. That's great range. Told you about his bad arm. Doesn't get a lot on this, but McGuire does not run well. 2 down.
1-0 the count. Don Robinson in the middle of your picture is the man who goes to the mound tomorrow, and he'll try to preserve a start for the other man who was in your picture, Rick Russell. That's one that is sliced foul down the line and back out of play. And the count 1-1.
Probably wondering what Don Robinson is thinking about after watching the home run barrage by the A's. But professional pride makes you think you're going to pitch better than your teammates. You're going to learn from their mistakes. They like Don Robinson because he's got such a tremendous competitive nature. Knee problems kept him from pitching as much as he'd like.
Well, with a 12-3 lead, Dave Henderson finds a way to go to first base the hard way.
And I'll tell you what, somebody from San Francisco is going to go down next inning because this is a purpose pitch.
Yeah, earlier in the game, it didn't appear to be intentional, but this one appears to be certainly more intentional than earlier.
Yeah, you know, if you're Tony La Russa, you don't want to see your guys get hit. You know, also you don't want to get in a throwing contest because what happens, most guys get hurt. I mean, either one on somebody on your team or whatever. But the one thing Tony will not stand for is guys throwing at Dave Henderson's or McGuire's or Canseco's. You just can't let it happen.
1-0 pitch is whacked into left field for a base hit. Mitchell comes up with the ball as Canseco rounds third, and he comes in to score. And it's 13-3 on a single by Steinbach as he joins the hit parade. That's his first hit of the night. Roger Craig goes to the mound, and Craig Lefferts will very possibly be summoned into the bullpen, and you can turn that possibly into definitely. So in will come Lefferts, the sprinter, with the A's on top 13-3. Eighth inning, it's 13-3 Oakland. Craig Lefferts comes in to pitch, and Tony Phillips becomes the ninth A to bat in the eighth. And the pitch away, ball one. So the A's with 2 on, 2 out, 4 over in the inning. Ricky Henderson's mom, Bobby, she moved recently, had a new phone installed, gave her son the number and said, Ricky, don't lose that number.
Oh, will you quit it?
No, stop it. Yeah, well, it's 13-3. What do you want? One and one. Oh, help me, Rhonda. That is Ricky's brother, Tyrone. One and one to count. Ball 2, 2-1.
Tyrone loved that line.
So did Dave Henderson.
So did Dave, yeah, right.
Guess which team's ahead? That's hit in the air to center field. Brett Butler is there. And he makes the catch. But the A's bat around in the 8th. They had 4. And at the end of 7.5, it's 13-3 Oakland. 13-3, the A's on top. Those in yellow making a change or coming into the game. The new right fielder, Stan Javier. He'll hit in the 2 spot. Lance Blankenship, the second baseman, stays in the game, hits 9th. The new pitcher is Rick Honeycutt, who will bat in the 3 spot. Canseco comes out of the game. Tony Phillips at third base now moves over from second. So you saw the defensive alignment as Honeycutt takes the mound after Stewart goes 7. And Donnell Nixon will lead things off against Honeycutt. So Nixon batting for Butler. He'll be followed by Thompson. And Litton has already come out on deck, so even Robbie will come out of the game. And then Clark. 2 hopper to short. One-handed by Weiss over to McGuire. And quickly 1 away. Robbie Thompson due up, and Greg Litton to bat for him to make his first appearance. Goodyear blip. Hovering high above. Candlestick Park, where they have begun to file out, as you might suspect. But did we get an official attendance figure tonight? We'll have to round that up for you. It was totally sold out as Litton grounds one just out of the outstretched reach of Weiss into center field for a base hit. So Litton is on with 1 out in the 8th inning, and Will Clark will come to the plate.
Well, Litton, who had an excellent year, a utility player, can play a little bit of the outfield, infield. An alley hitter, and he does what you want to do when you're trailing by 10 runs, 13-3. Hit it back up the middle. Another perspective, you got a pretty good idea of what kind of range Wright Weiss has as shortstop. Almost got to that ball.
The attendance tonight, 62,038. And that's just about total capacity. Clark fouls it away. I thought, actually, the only people who probably didn't show up are those who may have thrown away their ticket stubs or lost them. I know a lot of people obviously came to town and then had to leave town for whatever reason. But about as close to capacity as you can come, though they have begun to filter away. 0-1 on Clark. Of course, for those who have followed this franchise through the years, it is some sight to see this place filled. The Giants were a team that were a step away from leaving the area in the mid-70s, the nadir of the franchise. Horace Stoneham starting to run out of money. In fact, it precipitated the great line by then third base coach Joe Amalfitano in 1974 when Patty Hearst was abducted and nobody had any idea as to her whereabouts. Joey said, why don't they check the upper deck? Nobody's been there for 5 years. Clark fouls it away in the count 1-2. But Bob Lurie took over in 76, and back came the franchise and the A's as well under the Haas family. And now the Bay Area, once thought by some to be unable to support 2 teams, does so now to the tune of next year probably over 5 million people. Will Clark runs into Rick Honeycutt. Joe DiMaggio next to Bobby Brown. And Joe, and you've probably been reading about him with his home in the Marina District, but he is now, we understand, able to move back into it. I'm not sure he is in it, but I know he is able to. The house has been checked.
Will be without natural gas for about 5 months, though. Some of the pipelines still broken.
Kevin Mitchell takes a strike in the count 0-1. Well, the earthquake, of course, knows no boundaries, and that's brought home when you take a look at that shot of DiMaggio waiting in a line with his neighbors, trying to check his home last week. One and one.
There was a fella in the ballpark tonight, as a matter of fact, who was going to move into his home on the same street on which Joe DiMaggio lives, and that's Bob Welch. He was going to move in November 1st. Cosmetic damage done to his home.
Grounded to Phillips at third. He waits for Blankenship to get over for the force, and the Giants are done in the eighth. On to the ninth, 13-3 in front of Joe D. For the Giants now, Donnell Nixon, who hit for Butler, spells Brett in center as well, hitting in the one spot. Greg Litton, who batted for Robbie Thompson, takes Robbie's spot at second. Hitting in the two spot, Kurt Manwaring comes in to catch. Terry Kennedy is done for the night. Kurt hitting in the number 7 spot. And to the ninth inning we go. 13-3 A's. Craig Lefferts delivers to Walt Weiss. Ball one. 1-0 the count. Weiss hitting for the 5th time in the game, and when your number 8 hitter comes up 5 times in the game, you know you've had a big night. Dennis Eckersley. Not much to do tonight. No saves on this horizon. 2-1.
Tell you, the more you think about it, when Dave Henderson was hit in the top of the 8th inning, Rick Honeycutt didn't retaliate in the bottom of the 8th inning, and I think that was a very shrewd move. And the reason, I think literally you let sleeping giants lie in this particular instance. I mean, the A's have just blown the Giants out 3 games in a row, and they don't want them to get off the mat.
Nope, not at all. You're exactly right. There's Litton underneath it with Maldonado in the neighborhood. One away. Weiss is gone. Blankenship comes up. Roger Craig looking as much like Lyndon Johnson as ever. And we can tell you this telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. So this World Series, after the long and unprecedented and tragic, of course, delay, resuming and really picking up where it left off. Domination by the A's. And as life kind of comes back to normal, baseball is back and football played in the Bay Area by the colleges and by the 49ers. I guess we really knew it was back a week after the quake last Tuesday, when a local insert in the morning news show here had as its lead Zsa Zsa in her impending sentence. I guess that really brought it back to reality, huh?
Sure did. 3 days in the jail of your choice.
I wonder if they have room service. 2-1.
Yeah, that was her biggest concern. She didn't want to eat fattening food. I wonder if they put stars on their menu. You know, these are the healthy dishes.
A little squiver off to the right of the mound, and it's overrun by Lefferts, and then Clark's sweep. That's nothing but air, and Blankenship is aboard again. So Lance, who pinched it in the 8th inning and singled, will not get a base hit this time. They're going to charge Lefferts with an error.
Third error, and it is a tough play because Blankenship, we've already seen his speed on the bases. Craig Lefferts knows he has to hurry. You see Clark with a abort late tag right here. He's going to take it himself. Doesn't come up with it. Be the third error.
Now Ricky Henderson up for the 6th time in the game. Looks for the strike.
Tell you, if the Giants continue to play like this and the A's continue to play like this, the Athletics are going to be in the driver's seat like Zsa Zsa. Also.
All right. And they'll be getting all that new jewelry as well. And the Giants will now be faced with a task that no team has been able to accomplish. Down zip 3 and win the World Series. In fact, win any postseason series, including the playoffs. Strike, 1-2. Don Robinson goes to the mound tomorrow. He would have pitched in the original Game 3 the night of the quake. Bob Welch would have pitched in the original Game 3 the night of the quake, and each pushed back. Stays in for Mitchell. Blankenship gets back to first. Henderson hit that one off the end of the bat and still gave it a pretty good ride. 2 down.
Saw that shot of Bob Welch. He was telling us before the game that he and his wife had looked for that house on the same street as Joe DiMaggio for 18 months and had yet to move in it. Closed it, and then the earthquake hit. Yep. About 10 days before he was supposed to move in.
Mike Gallego will now pinch hit here in the 9th inning. Gene Nelson in the bullpen. What they did, they moved Javier when he came into the game into the 3 spot. We had assumed they were going to put him in the 2 spot. Normally you take the non-pitcher and move him higher in the order, but they're staying on deck batting in the 3 spot. So Gallego is really hitting for Honeycutt, and we'll see Nelson in the 9th inning. And Gallego fouls it back. And there is Gino, who will finish it up. One and 2. Softly to right, loved by Maldonado, and the Giants come up in the bottom of the 9th, trailing by 10. Candlestick Park, 13-3. How about this game in microcosm? Dave Henderson, Tony Phillips, Jose Canseco, Hendu again, and Carney Lansford. 5 home runs. Dave Stewart, meanwhile, pitches well enough, and the A's are 3 outs away from being 1 game away from their first world title since 1974. Ken Oberkfell is the batter. Funny, the last time a team scored 13 runs in a World Series game, the Cardinals did it against Milwaukee in 1982, and there's the new defensive alignment for Oakland. In that game, in that 13-1 Cardinal win over the Brewers, Oberkfell was a Cardinal. So he's seen it from both ends.
I think that was Game 6 in St. Louis. John Stuper, the winning pitcher, and he pitched a complete game with about a 3-hour rain delay in that ball game.
Meanwhile, the Giants on the short end of the biggest run output in World Series history. The Yankees scoring 18 in a game in 36. Yankees got 16 against the Bucks in 60, but of course Mazeroski ended that World Series with a dramatic home run and a Pirate title. 3-1 on Oberkfell. Will Clark, he was 1 for 4 tonight. And a walk to Oberkfell. So Gene Nelson, the 3rd pitcher, and you saw the new defensive alignment with Tony Phillips moving to left, Mike Gallego now at 3rd, and Matt Williams coming to the plate. Giants 3 runs tonight, but only 6 hits, and what that means is the Giants have 15 hits in almost 3 complete games.
2 extra base hits, a homer and a double in 3 games.
0-1 on Williams. Andy Maldonado. And the Giants go home tonight and come back tomorrow, and we'll be with you at 5 o'clock local time, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern for Game 4. Shallow left center field. And it was Phillips giving way to Hendu, and Dave Henderson makes the catch. Well, you're seeing all that Tony Phillips can do tonight. He even gets into that picture for us, and we talked about him. He's moved from second to third, and there he is in left field with Ricky on the bench for the rest of the night. One away. Tony Phillips. What LaRousse is able to do tonight too is get everybody some action. Gets Blankenship into the game. Javier. Van Waring takes outside, ball one.
It's turned into a game like yesterday's game that the A's played against their winter instructional league team. Trying to get everybody in the game and get some work.
Little looper to shallow right field, and coming in and not able to make the catch is Javier, as Van Waring almost runs up the back of Oberkfell, who winds up finally at third with Van Waring at second. So a little dunker down the line winds up as a double. That's the Giants' third extra base hit of the World Series. And with runners at second and third, Bill Baith comes up to bat for Lefferts.
And the reason Oberkfell holds up is because of Javier's excellent speed. He almost makes the play. He's played a lot of center field, a lot of right field when Canseco was injured early in the year with a wrist injury. He almost turned a double into an out. Ken held up, almost got run right by.
Bill Baith, he's the answer to a trivia question. He and a couple of others who have both performed for the A's and the Giants. He was with Oakland in '86 and 39 games. And this year up and down between here and Phoenix.
And Roger Craig really loves his bat. Hurt his shoulder a couple of years ago. Snapped his collarbone in two in winter ball. So his throwing has been a problem, but they think he may be starting Giant catcher in 1990.
There's a high drive to deep left field. Tony Phillips goes all the way back, and that one is gone. You have stayed with us. You have just watched a little bit of World Series history. 7 home runs in a game.
First World Series at bat for Bill Baith. A 3-run homer, regardless of the score. Feel pretty good about that, huh? First World Series at bat, a 3-run homer.
The next pitch is drilled foul by Maldonado, and the count is 0-1. How many guys have homered in their first World Series at bat? Well, it's happened on 20 occasions. The last time, Canseco, last year when he hit the grand slam against Tim Belcher. Now, meanwhile, of all things, don't ask me why, the lights are out in deep right center field. I don't think that has anything to do with any sort of a tremor or whatever. We've not felt a thing. And in fact, in all of the years I have come to this park, it is not that uncommon to see a light bank go out. So I don't think it's anything necessarily more than some sort of localized problem, but it's enough so that it does change it to the extent that the plate umpire Vic Voltaggio and Roger Craig will get together. And what will they decide to do? And Roger says, okay, let's keep going. We've got enough light. What Roger's looking for, though, right now is the light at the end of this tunnel. 13-6 is the score. Well, in a World Series we will never forget, obviously. They're going to wrap this one up without a light bank. 1-1 to count. There it is. Somebody didn't pay the bill. Fouled away. Meanwhile, the crowd in the upper deck in center field lighting matches, flashlights. A lot of people came with flashlights tonight. Two and two the count. Looks like the backdrop for Twinkle Twinkle Little Star here. And called strike three. And Maldonado would like to blame it on the lights, but he's blaming it on Voltaggio.
See for yourself, 2-2 pitch. Andy thinks it's low. Vic thinks it's not. They always get the last word. 2 down.
Nixon is at the plate with 2 out in the 9th inning. And time called as somebody throws a ball onto the upper deck. And Weiss makes even that play flawlessly, as the A's have done defensively through the whole series. 1-0 the count.
The only error the A's have made on the first play of the game back in game 1. That was Dave Stewart's throwing error.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm looking at all of these flashlights. It's incredible how many people brought flashlights to the game tonight. I mean, they brought the emergency kit right with them. The ballpark twinkling. And that's grounded in the center for a base hit. To hit here in the 9th inning, facing Todd Burns, the A's are an out away from wrapping it up. They lead 13-6. The Giants have Nixon at first base. 2 down. And the pitch away for ball 2. And that's grounded fair down the left field line and into the corner. Nixon heading toward third. Phillips tracking it down in foul territory. Nixon around third. He'll come in to score on a double by Litton. So it is 13-7. And Will Clark comes to the plate.
Litton's second base hit. Good hitters count. You see the first pitch to Clark. It's high. I don't know if they ever came back from 10 runs, but I do know they came back from trailing by 7 and by 9. Giants did.
In the regular season in Cincinnati, in a game in which they'd taken most of the regulars out, they came back and at one point were down 8-0 in that game, and then they erased a 7-run Dodger lead in September as well. Matt Young is in the bullpen.
In that game in Cincinnati, Will Clark was taken out for a rest, and Mike Alaga, a first baseman that is not on the San Francisco roster, figured prominently in that game. Had a game-winning 2-run homer.
And he also had a huge 3-run double off Hershiser in a 3-2 victory in September, and Clark has walked. So, runners at first and second, and this walk in the park has become a little something different for La Russa and Dennis Eckersley. All of a sudden goes to the bullpen, and Dave Duncan goes to the mound. If nothing else, this is not what La Russa wanted to happen, in the sense that if he gets Eckersley up, he wants him to pitch. He doesn't want to waste him throwing on a night when he doesn't pitch. He's real careful about that, but he doesn't have that luxury right now. He's got to get him up. (13-7). In the ninth inning, the Giants have hit around. Mitchell 1 for 4 tonight. One to go. So maybe the Giants have found the secret. Just turn out a bank of lights in center field. They are still without power. 1-1. And it's 1-2, so Burns is within a strike now.
It's a funny thing, we lose power in a night where the most power ever as far as home runs has been exhibited here in a World Series game. 7 home runs in this game, and now the power is coming back sporadically.
1-2 on Mitchell. Breaking pitch lifted to left field, but right toward Phillips, who has to back up, and that's it. So the Giants in the ninth send 9 to the plate, get 4, but come up well short, and the A's are 1 victory away from their first World Championship in 15 years. And the Giants are looking right into the face of a task that no team has been able to accomplish, down 0-3 to come back to win either a World Series or a League Championship Series. So on a night when a new record is set for most home runs in a World Series game, a total of 7 on this winless night at Candlestick Park, Don Robinson is faced with the task now tomorrow of keeping the Giants alive, and he's down on the field with Joe Morgan. Joe?
Thank you, Al. Donnie, I feel that of all the Giants starters, you're probably best suited to pitch against the A's down 3-0. How do you feel about tomorrow's start?
Well, Joe, you know our backs are against the wall now, and I got to come out tomorrow and try to throw some quality pitches. Hopefully we can grab a lead early, and hopefully that we can just play better than what we did tonight.
You see anything different in the scouting report that you want to try tomorrow?
Well, you know, they're hitting the ball pretty well. I think tonight, without the wind blowing, a lot of balls went out of the ballpark tonight that wouldn't have on a normal night here. So hopefully for me tomorrow night that the wind will be blowing and it'll be a regular Candlestick night.
How's your knee?
Well, I won't know that until I warm up tomorrow. Hopefully it'll be okay.
Thanks and good luck.
Thanks, Joe.
Back to you, Al.
All right, thank you, Joe. And of course, the big man tonight for the Oakland A's, big man among many, Dave Henderson. He began the night by hitting a ball off the top of the fence, Pat Sheridan leaping. He was there vertically but not horizontally as it bounced off the pipe and came back, and that double scored 2 runs to put Oakland on top. Then in the 4th inning, Henderson leading off against Scott Garrelts hit this drive to right center field that was gone. And then in the 5th inning, after Canseco had hit a 3-run homer, Henderson hit that shot and it was gone. He subsequently hit into a double play, and then he was made to pay a price in the 8th inning when he was hit by a pitch. And Hindu is with Gary Thorne. Gary?
Thank you, Al. Hindu can do. That's the sign in Oakland in the outfield, and Hindu did tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It was a whole team effort, and, a lot of guys pitched in, and we hit the ball well tonight and, put 11, 12 runs on the board. And makes it easy for the whole team.
You were just saying it's a matter of timing. You make some outs, too, but tonight the timing was perfect.
I think that's the name of baseball. You can go 0 for 4 and you get a base hit in the 9th inning to win it, you're a hero.
Look, you guys didn't even take batting practice today, or it had to be shortened because you couldn't get over here in time, and still pounding the ball. Now, everybody was saying after the delay the hitters would suffer. Not so.
Well, I think it's an individual thing, and, with me, a little time off helped because I wasn't hitting, the first couple of games, and it just helped me to get my mind straight and take a few days off and, get my swing back.
Sometimes you have premonitions of nights like this. Did you feel you were going to have a good offensive night? Anything particular the night before the game?
No, not at all. I thought I was going to catch a ball over the fence and rob a home run and, make a few great defensive plays, and, it'd be a 2-1 ball game, and, I come out smelling like a rose.
Hindu did. Thanks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Al?
All right, thank you, Gary. Well, that's the story from Candlestick Park. There are the salient numbers. Al Michaels along with Jim Palmer and Tim McCarver. And that'll do it for tonight, where the A's win it by a score of 13-7. And here's a reminder that tomorrow ABC's College Football presents exciting doubleheader action. First, Candlestick Park for Game 4 of the 1989 World Series. Our coverage begins at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 Pacific tomorrow. Now, except on the West Coast, stay tuned for ABC News Nightline, which follows your late local news over most of these ABC stations. Aerial facilities provided by the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. We'll talk to you tomorrow from San Francisco.
The appeal of baseball is intimately wrapped